Good morning and welcome in to Hurrdat Sports Radio. I'm Ravi, Lulla, Andrew Rogers.
It is the morning.
It is the morning. Andrew Rogers joins me today. Andrew, what's going on, man?
Back in the chair. This kind of feels weird. I told you this morning I walked in and I'm like, I tooled my body. I retooled my body to get out of the 5 a.m. wake-up call, and now I'm back.
You've got a little Godfather 3 in you. Just when you're out, they pull you
they
back
pull
in.
me back in. Yeah, exactly. No, and this weekend definitely wasn't a great weekend to come off of.
Yeah.
To get back up for the 5 a.m. shift as my
you were-
sister got married.
So you're back home, right?
Oh, and we stayed up way too late on Saturday. Fortunately, I had the ability to come back on Monday, but I stayed up way too late on Sunday too. And that kind of happens when I'm back either with my family or my friends, Yeah,
Things get a little loosey-goosey.
Yeah, it's like, oh, hey guys, let's go out at 10:30, and it's like, all right, yeah, we'll go play Golden Tee at a bar or something
You're
like
whoa,
that.
whoa, that's my bedtime, 10:30.
I know, and I'm like, we can go somewhere else after, and like nowhere like crazy, but
Yeah.
like you stay out. The night's still young when it's 1:30 in the morning, right?
Right. Yeah.
No, because it was about 3:30, and we were making our way home on Monday morning, and I knew I had to get on the road for the 6.5-hour drive. Didn't end up leaving my house yesterday until 1, got back at 7, and I'm like, all I want to do is sit down. Like, that's just all I want to do. And laundry still needed to be done. The room was messy, and I'm like, this is crazy. I can't wait to wake up at 5 tomorrow. So here I am.
And here we are.
So what's the best part of that drive?
The drive from St. Louis to Omaha?
Yeah.
When it's over?
When it's over. When I get here. I think the best part of the drive is when I see Hamburg,
Okay.
Iowa.
That means you're almost back.
Not only that, no, it means I'm in a sports betting state.
Does that sound like the very southern border?
Correct,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
And so once I'm there, it's like, wow, I can do a multitude of things. I can either get back in 45 minutes, or I can pull off to the side and play something for Monday Night Football,
And I'll be
which is
back
what
in
I
an
ended up doing. Yeah, that's probably what I'd rest at. I'd say Hamburg.
Okay.
But the drive isn't fun.
No, it's
It's
not.
easy. It's 4 turns.
Yeah, it's not a difficult drive. It's not a great drive.
No, you get on Highway 40 in St. Louis. That runs into Highway 70. Highway 70 runs into I-29, or rather 435 at Kansas City, which runs into I-29, and then you're back in Omaha.
Yep.
Like, that's it.
Pretty
It's
much.
a really easy drive.
Yeah.
But it's flat. It can be really boring. Traffic is nobody knows how to drive.
No, especially
No
as you're
one
going
knows
through
how
like
to drive.
Kansas City. Going through Kansas City is a mess.
And dude, like I hope we have a lot of truck drivers that listen to our show, because I'm sure this early in the morning they're like, oh my gosh, I'm in Omaha, I got to turn into 590, or I'm close to the Tri-Cities, like I got to turn on Hurrdat Sports Radio. But man, here's a PSA to all my truck drivers out there: stop changing lanes when you're going uphill.
Yeah.
When you're driving uphill, and I don't mind if you want to get around another truck, right? As long as you're not, slowing down traffic too much.
We're doing that like jockeying back and forth thing where they're like sort of like matching speeds.
But man, whenever they change lanes, it seems like it's always uphill when I'm driving. So I have to slam on my brakes, and to get that truck going up this hill, how are you beating the guy to your right?
Yeah.
How are you beating the truck that you're trying to pass?
Well, I mean, it's going to slow that truck down too. Maybe.
What are we doing? I think they're out to get me.
They might be. They're trying to keep you from.
What I think sometimes? I'm going like 8 over. Maybe I push the limit. Maybe I pull back a little bit more. But I'm going past some truck drivers. I think they're on the radio, and they're like, "Hey, watch out for this Ford Escape. It's a white car. And like whenever they get close, make sure to pull into the left lane while going uphill, because it'll piss them off."
I don't know if it's all that coordinated. That might be a little. You might be in your conspiracy.
Oh, am I?
You might have your little tinfoil hat.
Am I just like when the alert went off on our phones? Gosh, what was that? The emergency alert system
like
showed
Saturday
off
or Sunday.
You know what's funny about that? Did you guys read into those stories a little bit? I know this is a sports radio show, but
Allegedly.
here we are. Did you see that there were like numerous groups of people that got in trouble because they had their cell phone go off to the emergency alert
Oh,
system.
no.
Like Amish people got in trouble. And like some got even shunned from their community.
People that weren't supposed to have a
phone.
phone.
Yeah, and prisoners.
I was going to say prisoners.
Yeah, because the Amish people thought if I put it on vibrate or silent, that it
won't
wouldn't
make the
go
noise.
off.
Yeah.
Yet,
but the emergency system overrides like everything.
Everything, unless your phone is completely off.
Yeah, unless it's off.
And prisoners had no idea. They were like, what's happening?
I'm surprised they got that quality of cell phone.
Prisoner 134, why are your pants buzzing?
I thought we were still working with like flip phones at prisons. I don't know. We were working with the smartphones that have the alert system on there.
I know.
Well, you got to watch out next time. An emergency alert system. You're getting
it did scare me though when it went off.
Oh, me too.
And I'm so out of touch with the news,
Yeah.
so I didn't even know this alert was coming.
I didn't either.
I heard it from somebody else, but I didn't pay too close attention to it. And when it went off, it was like 2:58. They were supposed to go off at 3. It went off 2 minutes early, and I about jumped out of my shoes.
Yeah,
standing in the kitchen making a sandwich. Whoa, there it goes.
Yeah, it was aggressive for sure. Which I understand. If you're trying to alert people, you probably want to wake them up if you have to. I get it, but no, it was. Yeah, it wasn't. I didn't think about the prisoners and the Amish, though. I didn't think about the plight that they might be having. As Andrew mentioned, you can hit us up on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities in Central Nebraska. Of course, you can join us on YouTube, Twitter. You can watch the stream anywhere you find your podcasts. We will be doing a good time. We will be doing a good show, I think, today. We're gonna have a good time. I'm hoping. That's the idea, at least. We'll have a couple guests for you here today. Obviously, your regular Tuesday guest, Mike Schaefer, on at 9
can't wait to talk to.
Yeah, listen, he's been feisty lately, man. You better be ready to go after it.
He's always feisty. When is he not?
He's got some vinegar in him lately. At 7:45, we're going to talk to Tom Kakert from Hawkeye Report. He covers Iowa football, who plays in, I think, unarguably the best Big Ten game this weekend with Wisconsin. And then we'll talk to Patrick Erb as well. He is a writer for the Weekend Warrior covering.
Good matchup this weekend.
That's probably the best one on the slate for the Big Ten. I mean, not probably. It definitely is. The rest of and low-key, Wisconsin and Iowa, pretty good.
They are pretty good, but I don't think they're overly impressive either.
I would say I think they're pretty good, and I think they're also not that good.
Right.
They're kind of man.
You look at Nebraska's schedule, and you're thinking, is Maryland the toughest game they have?
I think
left?
it is. I think it is. Like genuinely, I think Maryland's. That's a super weird world to be in, where you're like, yeah, we're pretty worried about Maryland. We're okay with everybody else.
Well, reflect back to what we were talking about before the season even started. It was kind of like the Wisconsin show in the West, right? Like, that's the one. I think they're going to be pretty good, and they look pretty good right now. But let's also not forget that they don't look perfect either.
No, they certainly don't. And it's kind of funny because a couple weeks ago, right, the narrative was that, hey, Wisconsin is kind of struggling a little bit, and they're, they didn't play well against Buffalo, and they're not playing great football, and all of a sudden they're still 5-1. they're still, but I mean,
some teams that are 4-0, 5-1, whatever it is,
4-1,
right?
Yeah.
I still don't know how they are.
Well, and they lost that game to Washington State before we kind of knew Washington State was pretty good, and then they don't really light the world on fire against Georgia Southern.
Is Florida State actually 5-0?
They are 5-0. I've watched.
Like,
all
are they
of those.
really the fourth best team in the country right now?
I don't know.
You look at like who they beat. LSU was a great win.
LSU's a good win.
They did beat Clemson when they didn't even have Travis. But then you see them play against Boston College, and you're like, you beat them by 2?
Yeah. So that was a super weird game, right? Because they're up 31-10, and then it seemed like they just packed it in and forgot there was almost an entire half of football left. Oh no, you guys want to finish this one? Okay, that's our bad. So it's a super weird. Honestly, it's a super weird top of the college football landscape this year, just because.
Where's Bama, right?
Yeah,
you think that for one.
You thought that for one, but then at the same time, after that Texas loss, Bama's been pretty good. I still don't trust their quarterbacks, right?
Man.
You look at Georgia and you're like, oh man, they're not playing great, and then they go and just wax Kentucky, who I thought was playing pretty good.
Is Oklahoma a good defense?
I think so.
Like that.
I think so.
Let's go back to what I just said there, Ravi. Is Oklahoma a good defense? Like, did I
don't
put
know.
Oklahoma in defense in the same sentence?
Well, now that they got Lincoln Riley out of town, that
Right.
bum.
Because my goodness, you look at Oklahoma's name and you're like, oh, they're probably gonna get plowed by Texas. The way
I
Texas'
thought
offense
Texas-
moves.
I
And,
thought Texas might have been the best team in the country going into that game, like
And-
from what we'd seen.
Dylan Gabriel has really come
Yeah.
alive this year
Yeah.
more than he did last
And
year.
he was okay last year, but
I would say he was above average.
yeah,
last year.
I think so. I mean, he would have. I mean, Nebraska would have taken him for sure.
Well, they
but
killed Nebraska last year.
yes, like he has looked even a couple steps above where he was last year. But I was really bought into how physical that Texas had been, and Quinn Ewers looked really,
Mhm.
really good. And watching them and watching Bama and Alabama and Michigan, I go, I think either Michigan or Texas is probably the best team in the country. Then Oklahoma comes out of here and says, give them the old Lee Corso, not so fast, my friends.
The only Lee Corso thing I remember is when he called that little boy an MIDGET on the show.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is happening?
Like Lee, I don't think you can say that. He also has had some like really hot mic moments where he drops like F-bombs and stuff if he messes up with the
And Kirk just dies.
yeah, every time
he
Kirk
loses
is like,
his
"Oh,
mind.
no." He looks like a soccer player who just missed a goal. He puts his hands over his face, goes, "Oh no!" Like looking to the heavens.
Lee
for
Corso
guidance.
has no rules. Like,
He's
in his contract, I think it says you can do and say
I
whatever
think
you
so.
please.
and I
Or he's just on Impractical Jokers and they're feeding him something through a headset. And
That
that's
would
just what he repeats.
actually be a little funny if we found out the last several years had been a
it's
bit.
Joe Gatto.
Yeah, it was just a bit. He was just messing with us. No, it's one of those things where I kind of have a lot of nostalgia for College Game Day because of what it was when I was growing up, and now I'm kind of like I don't love it anymore, but every once in a while I still kind of tune in and go, still nice to see Corso with a mascot on his head, and
I love the addition of Pat McAfee.
yeah, he brings a different dynamic for sure.
He brings energy.
Yeah, and that show had gotten probably a little stuffy. And I'm not always I don't have anything against Pat McAfee.
It's still old reliable though.
It is for sure. I mean, it's the best thing going still, right? Not that I don't think
Big Noon Kickoff can't compete, but they're still little brother.
Yeah, it's not the same. It's really not the same dynamic, and I just don't know that the Big Noon Kickoff really knows who it wants to be yet. Like,
Well, they want to be College Game Day,
right?
And you're trying to repeat something
rather than like create something,
exactly,
which is never good, right? You want to kind of create your own thing and let people find it for its own value, right? But I like Pat McAfee on. You know what I kind of low key really like him on is
the Pat McAfee show,
the broadcasts.
Oh,
When he does, because he'll like stand on the sideline. Because I actually don't love the Pat McAfee show, if I'm being totally honest.
That doesn't shock me.
Like, I don't know.
They're loud.
He's
they're
like-
kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, he's like-
you're a little more buttoned up.
He's like yelling a lot. And I'm just like, why are you yelling at me, Pat? I didn't do anything.
Well, they have Aaron Rodgers on, so you have to like it.
It's honestly the most awkward part is when AJ Hawk's head is just sitting there for like 20 minutes and he hasn't said anything.
Yes. Yeah, because they're flopping between.
Yeah, because there's
each
like 12
stream.
co-hosts
Well,
on that show.
Who's producing? Like that's
there's-
not on Pat. That's on the guy pushing the buttons.
Yeah, but there's no way he needs all 12 producers or however many
Mhm.
people are in there. It's like he saw the Dan Patrick show and he's like, I need even more producers, and just doubled everything. So he's got like 8 guys in that room. Chuck Pagano is just sitting in there for some reason. And then he was in there the other day. He was just like sitting there, and then he'd throw to him like once every 6 minutes, and Chuck would be like, yeah, Pat, I agree. Be like, thank you, Chuck. Good stuff. And then AJ Hawk is just sitting there with his giant linebacker head, and he just doesn't say a word for like 20 minutes until
that is true.
Mhm. Pat throws it back to him. I was like,
That
hey,
is true.
but his face is on my TV screen the entire time.
Why are we cutting to him? It's not a movie. You don't need to show this character again until he speaks.
And I feel so bad for him because I've been in a situation where you're just kind of like, hey, I just, I kind of have to like look like I'm paying attention.
right.
Like, even if you are paying attention, like, have you ever done like a work call or something and you're on Zoom and you are paying attention, but you kind of just want to sit here like this.
Uh-huh.
But if you do that, your boss is gonna be like, hey, Ravi, I need you to be like engaged a little
Mhm.
bit. So you have to sit there and be like, yep.
Mhm.
No, yeah, that's a good point. And I feel
Meanwhile, you're just watching a football game
yeah,
on your
I'm like,
laptop.
I've got my phone
but it's
right
your
here.
phone.
I'm just like, yep, absolutely. And that's the entire AJ Hawk experience on the Pat McAfee show. It's just him trying to look like he's paying attention so that it's not super awkward that his face is half of my TV screen for no apparent reason. So I do like Pat McAfee. I, ironically enough, don't like the thing that he got famous on.
What, punting?
Well, more famous. Let's be honest. Way more famous.
Fair enough.
As the
I do like this the field goal that they do with a student, though.
yes, yeah.
I look forward to that kick
Yep.
because you have so many keyboard warriors out there that when your kicker misses, the game winner or a PAT is missed during the game, you just instantly take to the buttons. You get button happy on Twitter. You post something and you're just like, yeah. But it's like, have you kicked a 42-yard field goal before in conditions of
no at all
windy or wet?
Don't even need conditions,
right? Or just
have you ever kicked a 42-yard?
You're playing
field goal?
Madden, right? And you can switch weather conditions to windy, rainy, or fair, and you have it on fair, right? Because that's for you, right? No, nothing going wrong, no wind, no nothing. So you're kicking a field goal in perfect conditions. Just getting it there is hard.
That's what, honestly,
the distance is harder than the accuracy.
Just getting it off the ground is hard, especially if you're doing it from a hold and not off a tee. Some people will take a football tee out there and be like, "Oh, kicking's not that hard." I was like, "They don't kick off of those,
right?
They kick, get it."
Thank
you, Bo.
So the kid kicking this week was an Oklahoma fan at Texas, right? And you saw him line up for his kick first, and he tried to do what every kicker does, like the 3-step back, 2 over. But he ended up doing like 3-step back, 3 over, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna hook the heck out of this. Thing.
Way too far.
But then he lined back up, and I'm like, man, did Pat McAfee be like, hey man, like it's kind of like the Bryce Young, Miles Sanders thing where you push him over like one extra step, and so he lines back up, kicks it well. Yeah. Like you look at the kick and you're like, oh my gosh, like this has a chance. And it landed short.
42 yards is a boot.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, is the money they receive the distance from where they kick from, or is it always a PAT?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
I think it's always a PAT.
I mostly just watch the kicks. I think
it was $45K.
I think there was money in. I knew there was money involved, but I was like, I'm just curious.
That's not tuition at Oklahoma, right? Out of state tuition, is that $45K?
It might be out of state. I'm not sure.
Because I'm assuming that's how they
they
handle it. Like you get a year's worth of tuition.
Yeah.
Or is it a full ride with that $45K because you're in state?
In state might be 4 years. I mean, honestly, that might be. We're gonna Google. We're gonna Google Oklahoma.
Somebody help me out.
We're gonna Google University of Oklahoma tuition here.
I wonder how many people go to that school. It's got to be pretty big.
I would guess so.
But then again, I heard Notre Dame's tuition, which I knew they weren't big, like huge.
Yeah.
But they only have like 8,300 undergrads and 4
that's even smaller than
postgrads, I think, or graduate students, I guess.
University of Oklahoma is about $12,000 a year in state, so that would be about almost 4 years.
Yeah, the $45,000 would be.
Yeah.
Well, that would help.
That's that would help. That's a chunk.
And I'm assuming you probably got some type of academic scholarship because you can't kick a field goal. So I know you're not on
31,000. Wow. I think that's undergrad. Yeah. That's a good grip.
Thomas tossed out the number 27K on YouTube.
That might be right. I'm not sure if that's just undergrad or
maybe.
Well, maybe.
Was that post or per semester?
No, I think that was per year.
Per year.
Yeah, you're right. Notre Dame, 8,600.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I would have thought at least 10,000.
Right?
Yeah. I mean,
I think Lindenwood had more.
That's barely more than Creighton. I think Creighton's at like 6.
Sheesh.
Creighton, just like Notre Dame. You heard it here first.
Same architecture. Same tradition.
I mean, listen, Creighton hasn't lost a football game since the 40s.
That's true. That is true.
Spot the lie.
When did Notre Dame lose? This weekend.
Yeah. Like 2 days ago.
So
losers.
Yeah, come on, guys. My new brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Huge Notre Dame fan.
Okay.
Huge. The biggest you can find. I swear that he is a perfect representation of what it means to be a
Notre Dame
Irish.
fans. Okay.
And they had the stream on at the reception. It was in a separate room, but you could like walk in there, see the score. And I kind of forgot about it because
Yeah.
I knew they were starting it up at 6:30, but it was a long day's worth of adult beverages.
Sure,
and, chit-chatting it up with family
As
and
one does at a
friends.
wedding.
Right. So I go back into the room to look for a charger, and I look at the screen, and I'm like, oh, Louisville's kicking butt. Could not believe that Notre Dame trailed as much as they did, because Louisville is not as good of a team as they showed against Notre Dame. They aren't. They almost lost to NC State the week before.
Notre Dame's offense has shriveled up. I don't know what's happened. They looked pretty good early on. I get it was not great opponents, but they've totally just dried up. Like it's the Sahara out there. I don't know what happened. They thought Sam Hartman was going to fix all their problems, and it looked like he did early. And then all of a sudden you start playing decent teams, and they can't. I mean, they could barely score against Ohio State. You go, oh, it's Ohio State. Well, that makes sense, whatever. And then they struggle, obviously, against Louisville, and you're like, maybe they can't score.
Yeah, they barely got by Duke.
Yeah, they barely. And I'm pretty high on Duke, and so maybe Duke's okay. They have that last minute drive.
Right, but you threw in the Ohio State game, but I was just kind of adding that into the mix.
Really, I mean, I think they scored 22 against Duke or 23. It wasn't. They didn't score a ton against Duke either.
But is Louisville the 14th best team in the country?
Probably not. Maybe I don't know.
They are ranked above Oregon State.
Yeah, I don't think they're better than
Utah
Oregon State. I don't think they're better. Well, do I get Cam Rising or do I not get Cam Rising?
Right, but still, this is where we're at.
Yeah,
Duke.
Yeah, I don't think they're better than Duke.
UCLA.
They might be better than UCLA.
Washington State.
I don't think they're better than Washington State.
Tennessee.
I think they're better than Tennessee.
Notre Dame.
I mean, obviously they're better.
Right.
I guess they're better.
LSU.
Ooh, maybe. LSU can't stop anybody.
Yes.
LSU can't stop anybody.
But they did come back and find a way to get it done against Mizzou.
They did. I don't know how good Mizzou is, though, either.
Mizzou's I think they're a good team. I think Brady Cook is a little overblown.
Sure.
Because I watched him play in high school, and he was not
that.
He's not that.
Not that guy.
But they have arguably the best receiver in the receiver in
Mizzou?
Luther Burden.
Yeah. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. might have a couple words to say.
Okay,
about that.
I'll retract. The best receiver in the class of, carry the 2026?
2026. Well,
because he came out in 2022. He's the best offensive prospect of that class.
All right. More of Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio here on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. Find us on Twitter, YouTube, wherever you find us. We're powered by Cornhead Lager, the official beer of the 1890 initiative. You know what that means, Andrew. Every time you drink a Cornhead Lager, you're helping Nebraska football.
How so?
By helping to fund the 1890
there
initiative.
It is.
Listen, if you could drink beer and help out your favorite team, you know what I call that? Win-win.
It's not a win streak, though, because you have to have three things to make that a winning streak.
Listen, I'm counting 2 in a row as a streak, all right? It's a short streak, but I'm counting it as a streak.
Is that the utopia world that you live in?
Yep, just in my little bubble here, we're saying, you know what? 2 wins in a row, that's a streak. There's obviously a lot we'll get to today. Nebraska football, as I mentioned, we're going to talk to an Iowa guest, a Wisconsin guest to preview the biggest Big Ten game of the year. But
the game that you can sit down on the couch and take notes.
Yeah, and also sit down on the couch, and I imagine that thing's going to move pretty quick. The way Wisconsin, or the way Iowa certainly wants to play, the way Wisconsin I think might play some, although without Malusi, you never know if they're going to commit to that run game as much.
And Iowa without McNamara.
Yeah, Iowa
Like,
without
what is Deacon Hill?
Iowa's going to try and make that game as short as possible. We're talking 40 snaps. That's what Iowa wants.
Just so you know, Cooper DeJean did play quarterback in high school.
Hey, you never know. You never know.
They may just say, like, man, if if Brian wants to keep his job, hey, let's have him play both ways. Little Travis Hunter style.
It's a little bit harder quarterback, I think.
Is it?
I don't know. I never played the position, but that might be tough. You can give us a call at 888-638-4876 on the Warhorse Sportsbook hotline. So I was reading this article yesterday about, I kind of have this fascination with the sports they include or aren't going to include in the Olympics. And I don't know why. And so I'm on ESPN or whatever, and it pops up on my feed, or might have.
I'm assuming the Winter Olympics.
No, this is like 2028. Like, I think they're like in the round of trying to figure out what's going to go in the Summer Olympics in 2028.
Okay,
I'm a big Summer Olympics guy. Winter, man, not as much.
You're a track star.
Well, I'm a runner. I'm a track star. People forget this about me. So they might include flag football in the Olympics.
That'd be sick.
I'm kind of into it.
That'd be sick.
Can you imagine? It's basically just get the 7-on-7 stuff, right? Turning that into a Olympic sport. I'm kind of on board.
I think I'd like it more if it was like the powder puff football game from high school where all the girls would play, and they would come from all different walks of life.
Yeah.
Like, one was a cheerleader, these are the dancers. This girl plays softball. If that was the Olympic sport, and then you had former and NFLers coaching these teams, I'd be so into it. At least the U.S. team. That would be awesome.
That would be a tough sell, I think, to the Olympic Committee.
Maybe, but you could also pitch it like it's rugby, right? Like, women's rugby is huge, across the world.
Yes,
right.
Yeah.
So how about we just turn that a little bit into flag football?
Maybe we could see. Listen, I don't know.
I just want to recreate my high school days. That's where I peaked.
There might be a men's and women's division. I don't know, but I was thinking about flag football in the Olympics, and I was trying to think, because I have this fascination with sports that used to be in the Olympics as well. And so I was trying to think okay, what other sports could they include in the Olympics? And so I can't get over, they used to have tug of war in the Olympics, with the rope.
It's like a Guinness Book of World Records. You just played the most obscure thing just to get in.
And I kind of can you imagine elite athletes playing tug of war?
You just got to be the world's strongest man.
I kind of be into it.
That is probably a sport that you would have fit right into.
100%. Yeah. No, I'm obsessed with world's strongest man. I love that stuff. But they use I would kill to see tug of war in the Olympics again. I would be fascinated. I mean, they're trying to get baseball back in the Olympics, which is always good. I always enjoyed the baseball in the Olympics, but I don't know.
Ever since the World Baseball Classic,
you kind of over it.
I'm I got my fix.
You got your international. Baseball.
So I don't know if I need it.
That's fair, because they do. I mean, they do soccer,
Little League World Series, similar
soccer. They do both. They do the World Cup and the Olympics. Although usually Olympics for soccer, they do U23 teams and stuff. So
which is not really the team that you're used to seeing.
It's a different team out there. So that would be interesting. I kind of like that they're trying some different things.
Is cornhole gonna make it?
I'm out on the cornhole in the Olympics. I need it to be a little bit more athletic.
How about washers?
No.
You know how precise you have to be? How about the ring toss that you play at the bar on the string?
You're just trying to get in the Olympics.
Oh, am I?
Andrew's like, what are the bar games that I could get into the Olympics?
Washers is my game.
You're a big washers guy?
Big washers guy.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't played a ton. I'm not
that is a lot of touch.
Yeah.
That is a lot
of finesse. You have good arm.
You have good
arm talent.
Finesse is great. Yeah. But it's also muscle memory.
Okay.
And so that's why I like it.
Just
because
reps.
Yeah, it's just repetition. Darts. Because you the way you were throwing.
I like darts.
I'm not very good at darts.
Okay.
Because there's too much of the board that is considered a miss.
Yeah.
But in washers, all you have to do is hit the box.
Yeah.
And then occasionally if I throw it down the center and I hit the cup, then boom.
Yeah, even better.
So as long as I don't know. I just like the feeling of washers because I'm good at it. So that's probably why I like the feeling of it.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to real Olympic sports here.
Like flag football.
Like flag football. Oh, so it was flag football, it was tug of war, and give me like another one that was just
I mean, I would
off the chart.
love to. I mean, this hasn't been in there yet, but speaking of things that we like to play, I would love pickleball to get in the Olympics. Living that life,
with how hype it is,
it might
wouldn't shock me.
It's actually not out of the
wouldn't
question,
shock me.
right? No, the one that I always wanted to see in there was because they do Olympic lifting. I wanted to see powerlifting in the Olympics too, because that would have been kind of I wasn't Olympic level, obviously, but that would have been. I always enjoyed watching that, so that'd have been cool. But I just thought that was funny. I was like, flag football in the Olympics, because you kind of it was a big deal kind of back in the day. Americans would always talk about, hey, like, can we get football in the Olympics?
So who would be on that team? Would it have to be like?
I mean, you're talking about you're probably doing a quarterback.
Do you have an age? Do you have like an age range?
I think it could be anybody. They haven't they haven't really decided yet, so I don't think they put limitations on it yet.
So no age range.
Yeah.
Are you looking for like a recently retired NFL player to be your quarterback?
Either that, or I think you're looking at a fringe college guy that hasn't quite made the NFL yet.
Like the XFL.
Kind of, yeah. Your XFL,
like Jordan Teamu would be perfect.
Some of your arena guys that are really good, because arena actually translates to 7-on-7 a lot. There's kind of since it's sort of a more open, less pass rushy environment from traditional.
So
football.
like maybe like a Chris Strevler.
Yeah, or like, hey, let's get our guy Tommy Armstrong Jr. in there.
Or
from the
Tommy Armstrong.
Let's go. He I think just led the Beef to a championship last year. I mean, come on. Got some championship pedigree.
We have an Olympian
potentially
in our backyard.
Potentially. Well, I can't remember his name, but there's a guy from Omaha. I think he's from Ralston, or teaches at Ralston, or coaches at Ralston, one of those things. He is he played in the 3x3 basketball.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was a coach at our West Side, wasn't it?
Maybe it was West Side, yeah. Or maybe he went to Ralston and
could have been a combination of a group of people, because I remember Anna Bellinghausen doing a story on that.
Yep.
And I think they came from around Omaha. I want to say we used a West Side connection, maybe to even get in contact with. Maybe he teaches at West Side. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. But he either teaches or coaches here in town. So yeah, let's get some more Olympians up here. Get Tarmit. No, but let's go NFL guys here. Let's say the NFL guys decide they want to play, like the NBA guys play in the Olympics.
Like current NFLers?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say, would there be a chance that there would be a dream team that would be put together? Because some of those guys,
football,
Kyler Murray would be my quarterback.
Ooh, I want somebody
shifty.
Better. I want somebody
can move, can scramble, and he's small.
Can we get Tyreek Hill?
The reason I went. What's that?
Let's get Tyreek Hill as a
Tyreek Hill is great.
Number one. Okay.
Well, and the reason I want to go small, fast, and shifty is because it's not you're not about like wrapping somebody up. You really have to like reach and grab the flag. And if I can move,
elusive is important here.
So I think Kyler Murray would fit that perfectly. Plus, he won't be a Cardinal next year, so he might as well be on.
He's available. He's available, so that helps.
So you get a lot of wide receivers, a lot of defensive backs.
I like Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill is a game changer.
But you need somebody with a lot of size.
Yeah, so you need kind of a big dude
like Kelsey.
Kelsey would be good.
Kelsey would be really good.
Kelsey would be solid.
Which means you have to have Taylor Swift then.
Well, she can sing the theme song for the flag football in the Olympics, or the Olympic theme song in general. Who knows? Let's not limit Taylor Swift. She can do anything she wants.
I'll just shake that off.
I wanna think about this in the break. I want to figure out, because I don't think Kyler Murray's
lineup. You don't like Kyler Murray?
I don't think he's the right answer, but I might just be biased because I think he's trash in the NFL. So, but he might be great.
He may be perfect in flag football.
He might be great at flag football. We'll think about that, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, as well as plenty of other things like Major League Baseball playoffs.
Oh, that happened?
Allegedly.
Can we talk about base running a little bit?
I think we might. That's all coming up next on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Welcome back as we wrap up hour number 1 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. I'm Ravi Lulla. That's Andrew Rogers.
Here I am.
And I want to tell you real quick about our friends at Dingman's Collision Center. They've got 4 great area locations here in Omaha. They can work on any make and model that you've got for them with the latest technology. Best of Omaha, first place 18 years in a row. Family owned and operated. And best part about Dingman's, their give back program. Make sure you go to dingmans.com to check all that out. Joining us now on the Warhorse Sportsbook Hotline is Tom Kakert from Hawkeye Report. Tom, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
We are doing okay. You know, I was looking at the potential or the matchups in the Big Ten this week, and I mean, Iowa, Wisconsin might be the only one that's even a little intriguing. If I don't know,
it's not a high profile weekend in the Big Ten, is it?
It is no, it's really not a murderer's row.
I don't think next year we'll have that problem. I think there'll be loaded, some 3 or 4 interesting games every weekend. But boy, there's some.
What, Michigan State Rutgers isn't tickling you to this weekend? No,
I was really more of a
Not
UMass
really.
Penn State guy myself.
Yeah. Oh my God, the UMass. But James Franklin will find a way to cover late. He'll make sure they.
He certainly
he'll run a trick play or something late.
He certainly will. Tom, wanted to kind of get your perspective on this Iowa team because I know they've had their issues, especially offensively. Obviously, you've got Cade McNamara out, which is a huge problem as well. But I mean, along the way, Iowa's still 5-1, and you kind of look up and you're like, oh, I thought they weren't having a good year. And here they are, kind of where you always expect them to be. I guess, is that just from the outside looking in, or has that kind of been the perception around the program as well?
Yeah, I was just talking to a friend of mine about that this morning. Is like Iowa just seems to invent different, weird, strange, odd ways to win games. I mean, he mentioned to me, he goes, Iowa's probably the only team in the country, minus a service academy maybe, that can win a conference, a Power 5 conference game, and not have a completion to a wide receiver. They just invent new ways, odd ways to win football games. But hey, and as all the old coaches say, an ugly win beats a pretty loss anytime.
As long as you get to 26 points, right?
Yeah, that too. I don't see, unless something really changes, I don't see how they're going to get to the 25. So, but they may end up, it's like I told somebody last week before the Purdue game, I could have seen anything from them finishing 4-8 to 11-1, and nothing would have surprised me a whole lot. Now they're at 5 wins, and if they win this week at Wisconsin, and again, they're close to double-figure underdogs right now, but it wouldn't shock me if they went up there and won.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the driver's seat for the Big Ten West going into November, probably.
I mean, Tom, not only are in the driver's seat for the Big Ten West, if they win against Wisconsin, 11-1 is legitimately on the table. Even if they lose,
they will be favored. They will be favored in every game.
Even if they lose, you're probably staring at 10-2.
Right.
And so we're in this super awkward position, right, where you're talking about a 11-1, maybe 10-2 football team potentially, and they're certainly not going to score 25 points a game.
Mm-mm.
So are they really going to force Kirk Ferentz' hand to fire his kid after a season, even though like he obviously didn't meet the metrics, but they end up winning 10 or 11 games? Like, how is that? How have you? I mean, I assume you've gone through these scenarios in your head because they're not crazy.
No, it's not, and none of this stuff is crazy. It's just going to be an awkward situation. I don't think there's, it's like it's just going to be awkward. It's going to be honestly, I'll be surprised if Brian's back regardless. I think it's just kind of run its course, and he'll probably try to look to land with an NFL team at some point. And frankly, Iowa's going to have to, one of the things I've written recently was that regardless of what happens, given what's going to happen to the conference next year with Washington and UCLA and Oregon, and USC joining the conference, and no Big Ten West to fall back upon, the as I call them sometimes, the island of misfit toys division of the Big Ten, they've got to modernize the offense. You just can't you've seen Wisconsin do it this year. I think Luke Fickell came in and realized that you can't play 3 yards in a cloud of dust anymore, and you got to get ready for that because the Big Ten West is going away.
Yeah, regardless, to take that next step, you have to part ways in order to turn this program from a good program to a great program. They need a great offense, and they have that on defense, right? They have everything that you have to like about a team on defense, but offensively, they just missed the mark. So 10-2 or 8-4 or 6-6, if that's what it ends up being, and they're still in a bowl game, I think Brian Ferentz goes too. Now, does this Iowa team, Tom, have the same stability with Deacon Hill as it did with Cade McNamara to finish as one of the top teams in the Big Ten West this year?
Yeah, they don't. Cade was just a better quarterback. I mean, and Deacon Hill has a big arm, but he's also really inexperienced. He's very green. He had his struggles. There are a lot of Iowa fans that want to see Joe Labus, the backup quarterback who actually quarterbacked them. Was starter in the Music City Bowl against Kentucky and led Iowa to a victory. But even Joe wasn't great that day. So they're just gonna have to ugly it up in a lot of ways for the rest of this year with and try and get by with Deacon Hill, Joe Labus, or whatever they end up doing. I know a lot of people have suggested maybe Cooper DeJean and the Wildcat would be a better option.
I joked about that just about 10 minutes ago because I covered Cooper in high school at OABCIG, and I knew he played both positions. So I hope not. For his sake, I hope not, because we're going to see a first-round pick in him.
We asked him about that last week, and he was open to doing anything.
Yeah, because he's just that's his mentality. That's him.
That's just who he is. Yeah, and that's what he did at high school. I mean, and he led them to state championships and everything. So, I would be in favor of some sort of small, a package of some sort that they put together to get him on the offensive side of the field a little bit, because he's the most talented player. He's the most skilled guy. So why not try and get him out there for, 10 plays a game and see what he can do?
Tom, I've been wondering a lot about, obviously, not just the job status of Brian Ferentz, which has been, debated pretty heavily, but I also kind of wonder as Kirk Ferentz starts to get on in his coaching career, and kind of at some point, I think we're a lot closer to the end of it than the beginning of it.
Yeah.
I guess, what do you think his end game looks like at Iowa? Do you think he would maybe try and just have one of these one last great 10-11 win seasons and kind of ride off into the sunset? Or do you think he's going to keep coaching until the wheel falls off?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, because that is the $64,000 question for University of Iowa is what's the end game here? Because I always use the terminology, where is Kirk Ferentz at on a round of golf? And is he on the 18th fairway?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the right analogy, but
perfect way.
Here's the thing about Kirk. Yeah, here's the thing about Kirk is he's a football lifer. Mm-hmm. His identity is football. In fact, he's joked that when he's done coaching, he'll probably still go coach somewhere. That's just who he is. He'd just go be a line coach for a high school team or something, or a D3 team, and that would make him extraordinarily happy. He doesn't have, some guys take up golf or fishing or pickleball or whatever whatever you're doing. He's just not one of those guys. He's football. He's a football coach, and his mentor was the same way. Joe Moore, a guy that they've named an award after, is his mentor, and Joe Moore was the same way. I mean, he was coaching Erie Cathedral Prep, after he was done coaching Notre Dame and Pitt and everywhere else. So, I mean, that's just who he is.
Any chance that 10-11 win season, if it happens this year, that he goes out with his son?
It's a possibility. There's always a chance that he just says, you know what, it's probably time. But I just see him hanging on. I think he's still enjoying what he's doing. That's what he's told me, and that's what people have told me privately. He still loves coaching.
Tom Kakert from the Hawkeye Report. Tom, we appreciate your time. We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Tom.
Hour number 2 of Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next. Welcome back. Hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. I'm Ravi. Lulla, Andrew Rogers here with me as well. I want to tell you about our friends at Big Brothers Big Sisters. It is their mission to support one-to-one mentoring relationships that ignite the power and promise of youth. Go to mentoromaha.org to sign up to become a big. You can also go to mentoromaha.org if you want to donate money or tickets to events for already matched bigs and littles. And you can be a part of their organization that way as well. That's mentoromaha.org. So I think what we're going to do here, Andrew and I have come up with an evil plan or a master plan, one of the other two. I'm not sure. I think it's a terrific idea, though. So we're going to come up with, and maybe we can push this out on the Hurrdat socials too. We'll see what happens.
We'll throw it together.
We'll see. It's just a little social media company. I don't know what's going on there. We'll see what happens.
Is that what we do?
Sometimes we do lots of stuff. We're going to put together our ideal flag football team
to see in the Olympics. With current NFL players, because they haven't told us no yet on that. So I'm thinking we'll do one of those $5, $4, $3, $2, $1. Yeah, the things you see on social media.
Yes. And you get a quarterback, 2 running backs. Let's do quarterback, running back, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end.
Quarterback, running back, 2 wide receivers, tight end. Okay, yeah.
So those are your 5 spots.
Yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
$15.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll come up with that during the break here. We're just doing this on the fly. I didn't know it was going to go this direction, but we'll figure it out. It'll be fine. And we'll have a good time figuring out who, because, where do you think Kyler Murray's like a $3 player?
No, lower.
Okay.
I would say Kyler Murray is probably your $1
or $2 quarterback. Okay, cool. As long as we're on the same page.
Would you add any Raiders to it, like maybe a Myers or?
I mean, Devontae Adams could maybe be one of the
Devontae Adams would be a good wide receiver.
I don't think Jimmy G is going to make the cut.
Josh Jacobs could be a running back on the list.
Yeah, I don't know if his running style is super conducive to flag football, but he could make the list probably.
But see, that's how we'll structure it too. Like,
would you put
Christian McCaffrey?
He'll be a $5
running back.
Yeah.
Right?
Would you put a mirror in there?
A Lulla?
He actually would have a really good skill set for it.
He would. He'd have to be a $1 player.
Yeah, he'd be at the bottom of the list probably.
But he could be that guy that you just pick up that nobody else picked up.
Yeah, he could be he can be your free agent, your waiver wire guy.
Waiver wire, yeah.
If we're doing a little fantasy draft,
he's
here.
50 cents.
Yeah, you could do. We could have a quarter player too. Just you got to fill the roster a little bit. So Christian McCaffrey, that's your $5 running back. I'm thinking like a Tyreek Hill is a $5 type wide receiver. We'll figure this out. We're going to get this together. We'll see if we can throw it up on social. We'll have a good time with that. Interesting stat I saw on Twitter, just random. This is a complete list of college football teams this year who have rushed for at least 1,200 yards and held opponents to under 500 yards total rushing.
A complete list.
A complete list. Would you like to guess how many
are on that list?
On the list?
I'll say 3.
2. You're very close.
Wow. Okay, 1,200
rushing yards gained, held opponents to under 500 rushing
Now,
yards.
are these teams that are like off the beaten path, or are they like top 25 teams?
These would not be top 25 teams.
So then I'm not even going to try to guess.
No. One of them is your Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Okay.
The other one, the Air Force Falcons.
Yeah. See, I knew one had
service
to be a
academy.
Service school.
But the rushing defense for the service school, like good on you, Air Force.
Oh,
well done there. Appreciate that for sure.
Little Navy-like of last year.
Listen, I love me a little bit of Navy football.
Hey, I'm telling you what, man. Every service academy better exceed in defense. Because what do they do when they are out of school? They defend. So they better lead the country in defense.
I'm not sure those are direct correlations of skill sets.
Oh, it's not? That's not how that works.
Yeah, defending like an ocean versus defending a spread offense is a little different.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Kirby Smart is that big wave that you see on the water.
I don't know about that. I don't-
Can you imagine Air Force against Georgia? My goodness.
Oh, that would be ugly for everyone involved. Nobody wants that.
For Georgia.
Yeah, don't want to get embarrassed by the Air Force
That's what I'm
Academy.
saying.
They're the goats. You gotta watch out. No, excuse me, they're the Falcons, not the goats.
Yeah. Ba-doom.
I can't help myself sometimes. Wanted to switch gears a little bit here to baseball playoffs. Andrew, I know you're a big
my
baseball
goodness.
guy. What have your thoughts been so far? What's been going on?
Kind of weird. Wild card weekend went exactly as I pictured it would have gone.
Even with all the sweeps?
Because
that was a little weird.
The sweeps were weird,
Yeah.
but I meant the teams that
Sure,
came out.
Okay, sure.
Was exactly how I thought it was going to go. As for the games on, what is today? Tuesday?
Today is Tuesday.
I'm all thrown off. As for the games that happened day one of the DS rounds and day two of the DS.
Saturday.
Right?
Yeah, because Thursday and Friday were dark because everybody swept.
Blew my mind that the Braves got shut out in game one.
Yeah.
Blew my mind that the Dodgers lost like 11-2.
Yeah, I got smoked.
In game one. Blew my mind. Was it the Twins that?
Twins lost game one. They won game two. So they split.
Okay. So I was thinking about yesterday. And then it was
the Rangers are up 2-0 on the Orioles.
That's insane to me as well. Now, the Rangers have always been a well put together team.
Yes.
And we knew that coming in. But as for what we're seeing from these teams, like the Braves came back and won last night.
But the Dodgers lost again. So all of a sudden
Right.
they're in an 0-2 hole against the Diamondbacks, who they beat by like 16 games in the West this year.
And that's what happened to them last year.
Yeah.
But I just kind of want to nitpick one thing that I saw at the end of that Phillies-Braves game, and it just shows how important the little details are in sports. No matter what sport you play, if you do the little things right, more times than not, it'll pay off in the end.
And more often than not, you'll do the big things right too.
So, get a runner on first, one out. Castellanos at the dish, hits one to right center field. Michael Harris makes a great play at the fence.
Okay.
Where the play went wrong, though, was Bryce Harper was already rounding second base. So when that ball was caught, he was probably 3 steps toward third.
Sure.
Than he was closer to first. And I just sat back and it's easy to pick on him because he got doubled up on the play. But guys, let's not forget too that Michael Harris missed his cutoff man. Missed them both. Austin Riley backed it up and still got Harper out at first. That's how far off Harper was. But the way that you're supposed to run that is you can either stand on second base and, lean toward third, because worst case scenario, you just run back to first.
Yeah.
Right? Full speed. You don't have to worry about rounding, touching the base, getting back to first. You're nearly at second base, or you play a little bit off on the first base to second base line. And, maybe start to kind of like toe tap it, right? You load. He misses it, then run.
Yeah.
But the reason that you do that little thing right, and you still probably score, because that ball has to hit perfectly off the fence. Michael Harris is jumping into the fence.
Yeah.
That
Which
ball has
means
to
he's
hit
not in
perfectly out of the
position
fence to go to, is it Rosario in right? Is that who plays right field for the Braves? To get to Eddie Rosario. Even if that happens, Harper's probably rounding third and going home.
Yeah, decent chance he scores anyway.
Right.
So it's the risk reward of what he's doing there.
Or
doesn't make sense.
That ball isn't caught, right? And you end up at third.
Yeah.
With one out.
Yeah.
And so now you have a sac fly, you have a ball in play to the right side, whatever.
Ground out. Yeah.
You score a run. But you extend the ball game. But instead, now it kind of was, you saw it coming. Like when the Braves came back, you kind of saw that the Phillies kind of like swallowed it all.
Yeah.
And here we're about to watch it again. Austin Riley smacking a home run in the 8th. But that's why you focus on doing the little things right in sports. And that's why I also think, too, after listening to the Huskers, like Matt Rhule in the postgame, and the announcers throughout the games this season, that's why I think it's critical that they're, attacking being penalized right now.
Sure. Yeah.
And in order to set your team up for success, you have to do those little things right. Like a false start happens, right?
Yeah.
An unsportsmanlike conduct penalty happens. Like you get into the emotions of the game, the heat of the game, and boom, it may go sideways, but you collect yourself. But you can't have that happen repetitively throughout games. And that's why you stress those things, especially if you are at the skill level that the Huskers are at right now. You're not Georgia.
No, you can't afford the mistakes.
You're not
your margin of error.
Michigan.
Your margin of error is very thin.
To get a win, you nearly have to be perfect.
Yeah, you have to.
In the little things.
Yes, yeah. Your margin of error is not big enough with your talent that you can afford those types of mistakes and still expect to win on a regular basis. Now, obviously, they got the win against Illinois.
But it was ugly.
It was ugly for sure. And what did our friend Tom just say, though? Hey, take an ugly win over a pretty loss, right? Totally understand that. And I've said this, Nebraska hasn't earned the right to win pretty yet. That's not on the table for them yet. Now, you can win cleaner. You can win cleaner for sure, because there's a difference between ugly and sloppy too. Nebraska's win against Illinois was both ugly and sloppy, right? But if they can clean up, if they can win clean and ugly, I think Nebraska lives with that and is plenty happy with it, right?
Sure.
Because just from the quarterback play is probably not where they want it to be. Obviously, I was kind of going through the list in my head the other day, right? So starting quarterback is out. Whether Harburg's better than Sims, that's totally up for debate, and that's a valid discussion.
Side note, Harburg is one of only 12 players in the country with 600-plus passing yards and 300-plus yards rushing.
Yeah, I think he's been good, right? Certainly much better than we expected, because we had no idea what to expect.
He's been better than Jeff Sims.
He has been better than Jeff Sims. Is he the better quarterback overall? I don't know.
I'd say yes.
He's probably who I'd keep with going forward. But so the guy you thought was going to be your starting quarterback is out, whether that's a blessing in disguise or not, right? He's out. Your top two running backs are out, even though you think Anthony Grant's probably your most talented running back. At the very least, two of your top three running backs are out. You've lost from fall camp 3 of your top 4 wide receivers right now, because Betts leaves the team.
Washington is hurt.
Garcias is injured for the year. Washington's hurt now. 3 of your top 4 wide receivers are gone. The only guy you have left is Billy Kemp, right? You're dealing with
true freshman on the field
at wide receiver. You're dealing with, Teddy Prohaska, probably not to the point where they were hoping he'd be at this point. You're dealing with some guys getting banged up a little bit on the offensive line going in.
Your running backs are depleted.
Yeah, running backs are depleted with 2 of your top 3 guys gone. Anthony Grant gets banged up for a second.
And you're still 3-3.
Yeah, and you still manage to be 3-3. So just from all those things that I laid out there, right? It's going to be ugly. You don't have a choice for it to not be ugly.
Right?
But you do have a choice for it not to be sloppy.
The Big Ten West is just ugly.
Yeah, it's ugly football.
Let's just admit it. It's not football that you're sitting down on your couch and you're thinking, I'm going to see 45 points today.
Yeah.
From one team.
Yeah, maybe
Michigan.
Maybe not even
right?
both teams.
Maybe Michigan, Nebraska, right? That's the only time we got close to it.
But, let's be honest. Most of the over-unders in these Big Ten West games are under 45. The number, you're getting a lot of high 30s numbers on these Big Ten West games.
Why do you think Michigan, Iowa, Wisconsin is set at 36.5? There's a reason for that.
Yeah, because especially Iowa can't score. They think with the defense against Wisconsin, they'll hold Wisconsin in check, because Wisconsin scored a little bit some this year as they've tried to modernize their offense, like Tom was talking about. They've scored over 30 3 times this year. Obviously, they've got the loss to Washington State where they only get 22 points. They have the win against Rutgers where they only get 24 points. But Rutgers kind of plays like a Big Ten West team where they want to ugly that thing up.
Right.
There's a lot of Iowa in Rutgers. You know what I mean? That's the brand of football. And so, it's okay for Nebraska to play that brand of football, right? But the difference between an Iowa and a Nebraska right now is Iowa plays clean and ugly. Nebraska's playing sloppy and ugly. If Nebraska can get to clean and ugly, easy 6-7 wins on the season.
You're 4-2 if
Easy.
you played clean and ugly.
Absolutely, right? You're 4-2. You beat Minnesota, no questions asked, right? I'm not going to re-legislate the Colorado game because how far out of hand it got.
Mm-hmm.
But so, yeah, take the loss to Colorado. Absolutely. They played great in the second half. Sure. Minnesota's for sure a win if you play clean and ugly rather than sloppy and ugly. And to me, that needs to be the goal moving forward. Like in the bye week, I wouldn't try and like revolutionize the offense or like get Haarberg as comfortable as possible. But more than anything else, just get clean.
Well, I'll tell you what, too. It's really going to pay off in the long run, the way Nebraska's offense is looking at this point in the year when they go out and recruit for not only more for next year's class, but classes after that, or even the transfer portal, because you now know what you want your offense to look like. You want that quarterback run element, right? With Jeff Sims, you thought you had it going in.
Sure.
Fans thought you had it. The coaching staff said, no, we're going to throw it more than we're actually going to have designed runs for him.
Yeah.
Now with Haarberg, it's like, no,
Designed runs.
It's designed runs, right? We're either giving it to Grant if he doesn't fumble the ball backwards 1 yard and cause me to lose my bet, or you give it to Haarberg, who can run 20 yards and not be afraid to take a big hit, to take a shot, to dive forward.
Kind of seems like he looks forward to it a little bit.
Right. So you can find, and this isn't a knock on Heinrich Haarberg, because he's a good football player, but you can find somebody that is even more highly touted or highly recruited than Haarberg to play that position and run the offense just like that. And if it works and you get to a bowl game and now these kids, I say kids, these high school kids, see the magic starting to happen at Nebraska, you're going to get that guy that, he may not be 10 steps above Heinrich Haarberg, but he may be 2.
Yeah.
And then, okay, now you have this guy that's 2 steps above, and this is across all positions. Like, this isn't just quarterback. I'm just using the quarterback as an example.
Sure.
Then, maybe a year or 2 down the road, you get a guy that's 2 steps ahead of that guy.
Yeah. Now, all of a sudden, you're 4 steps ahead of where you were.
And I think
that's incremental, right?
Well, and I think that's why Coach Rhule preaches patience. He doesn't just say patience to the Husker fans and doesn't also recognize that games have been ugly.
Yeah.
He's saying patience because, you don't eat a full pizza in one sitting. At least I don't. Most people don't, right?
Try not to. Yeah.
Right. You have, your fill.
Yeah.
And then you have a little bit more later. And you have a little bit more until it's over, right? And then, you get a new same thing, but you don't ever just eat it all at one time. You slowly get through it. And so when I hear him talk about patience, I want people to avoid jumping to we're 3-3, and oh my gosh, now we have to get to a bowl game. Now we have, because we're 500 now. We just have to get there because we're. He's not saying you have to be patient in that thought.
Yeah.
Right. But he's telling you to be patient in how the process is developing.
Oh my gosh.
And how you get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
You don't give somebody 8 years and expect them to get it done in 1.
Right. Yeah. And
you would hope that they take strides at year 2 and 3.
You want to see progress the whole time, right?
But in year 1, you
can't expect to be at the finish line.
Yes.
And for me, I know there's this, because it's like you were kind of talking about. It's patience in the recruiting and the implemental. You talk about implemental progress or incremental progress in terms of wins and what the football team looks like and all this, but it's in recruiting too, right? I know everybody kind of got obsessed with this idea of getting Dylan Rhule, right? Like over the summer before he committed to Georgia, and that would have been theoretically a guy, because we don't know what he's going to look like on a college football field yet, right? But theoretically, a guy who would be that 10 steps ahead of Haarberg or 8 steps ahead of Jeff Sims or whatever the number is, whatever quarterback, right? But generally, you don't see a place like Nebraska, who is not currently winning at a high level, right? Go from, hey, we've got this level quarterback with Heinrich Haarberg. Now all of a sudden we've got an NFL guy in Dylan Rhule. You usually don't see it overnight that way. Sometimes at the programs that are winning at a big time level, you sometimes see that jump from year to year, and you see that huge improvement. You're like, hey, we finally got our guy. We're ready to go. But generally, whether it's on the offensive line, you take, hey, let's take 2 steps forward. Let's not worry about scoring on this play. Let's take 2 steps forward. Let's not worry about taking it to the house in year 1. Let's get 2 steps forward. And if you keep taking those 2 steps forward, you're going to end up 2-3 years down the line with a dramatically better football team from top to bottom. And so I am curious though, because you mentioned the kind of the different offense versus with Harburg versus Sims. I do think long term they probably want to run a little bit more of the Sims style offense with the running quarterback, but less dependent on the quarterback run. And I think that's the goal long term.
Well, because that's what works in college football.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you have a guy that can spread it around a little bit, but also mobile.
Like 2 years ago when Navy's running every play,
Yeah.
right? When I say running, like
actually running. Yeah.
And they're doing the RPO. They're not a top 25 team.
No.
You just won't be.
No. You have to have some semblance. I mean, you have to be effective moving the ball through the air to be a consistently good football team. And even if that's not, listen, I'm not saying you have to throw 40 times a game or even 30 times a game. Like, look at Michigan. There's a reason Coach Rhule brought them up as the model, right? Because they play hard-nosed, run-first defensive football. But, oh, yeah, they also have this 5-star quarterback named J.J. McCarthy. They also have this quarterback that's probably going to be an NFL draft pick in J.J. McCarthy. That is a total game changer for them. And that's what we talked about, right? They made that incremental progress from, I can't even remember who was starting before Cade McNamara, but from where they were 4 years ago to Cade McNamara. And then they make the incremental progress from Cade McNamara to J.J. McCarthy. And then J.J. McCarthy himself made progress from who he was as a freshman to who he is now as a junior. And all of a sudden, Michigan might be the best team in the country, right? Even at really high levels, you take those tiny steps to get where you want to go. And that's the sustainable model. That's what kind of excites me about the potential of what Coach Rhule's doing, is because this isn't a flash in the pan thing that's tied to one guy or one quarterback or whatever, right? It is a sustainable growth model that hopefully people will be patient for.
Whatever the hell it is.
And all that being said, though, yes, you want it to be crisp. You want gameplay to be crisp. You want to relax on the turnovers.
Yeah.
Right. You want to relax on the penalties.
Before you get any more talented, you can get cleaner. You don't have to play sloppy just because you don't have the talent level you want, right? That is not a prerequisite for having talented guys. Before we switch gears here, I believe we've got Cody on the Warhorse Sportsbook hotline. We still have Cody, Shane?
Right as you asked for that, he picked up the phone for a new caller.
We might have lost him. That's okay. We have a little internet.
Cody's still up there. He was still up there. That button
there we
right
go.
there. Technology.
I love technology. It's my favorite.
Technology.
Do we still have Cody, Shane?
Yeah, we still got him.
All right, let's go to Cody here on the Warhorse Sportsbook hotline. Cody, what's going on, man?
Oh, not much. I was just so excited to talk to Andrew because it's Christmas today.
Let's go, baby. LGB.
Is tonight the passing of the torch from Sydney to Connor?
Well, gosh, I mean, what about McDavid? Are we just forgetting about him?
Forgetting about Connor McDavid? We're not doing that anymore?
Nobody can do that.
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing Jack Eichel. It's the Connor Bedard show now.
Hey, Connor Bedard is special, man.
How quickly did people forget about Taylor Hall?
Well, Taylor Hall kind of did that to himself because he really just fell off the map. But he was a stud in New Jersey. A stud.
Yeah. And now he's just
Taylor Hall. He just has a first and last name.
Yeah.
No, dude. No. Connor McDavid. Go ahead.
As long as Bedard doesn't have to go up against Marc-Andre Fleury, he should be all right.
Yeah. Well, he did way too much on that shootout attempt. Way too much.
Yeah. I love the little trip Fleury gave him there at the end. Like, welcome to the leagues, brother.
And that's Marc-Andre Fleury to a T. But Connor Bedard he's a revolutionary. What is the word that you like to use?
Talent.
Generational talent.
Yeah,
he is a generational talent. He may be worth everything that comes his way. Every word you speak, every breath you breathe, Connor Bedard is worth that.
Cody, we appreciate the call, man. We got to get to a break, bud. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Appreciate the call.
No, Cody, stay. Let's talk NHL.
David, hang on the line. We'll get to you coming up next on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio. I'm Ravi, Lulla. Andrew Rogers and I have been furiously putting together a list for you.
We got this going.
We're putting together your Olympic flag football team. Theoretically, there's a chance that flag football could be included in the Olympics in 2028 or future years, which is a little goofy, but hey, this is what we do here. Before we get into some of the rankings we've got here, want to tell you about our good friends over at Pratt Dental. They are the only dentists in the state who are certified in the BioClear method, which can help correct many aesthetic dilemmas in a permanent and less invasive manner than traditional treatments. The Pratt Dental can be reached at 308-221-2800, and they can be found in North Platte, Nebraska. Make sure you check out our friends over at Pratt Dental. Pratt Dental, not in North Platte. There we go.
There you go.
A lot of Platte and Pratt getting a little, there we go. But appreciate our friends at AM 590 ESPN Omaha and ESPN Tri-Cities, and our friend David on the Warhorse
Sports. Let's get to him,
hotline.
and then you can finish typing up this information.
I'm trying to get our thing together here. David, what do you want to talk about today, bud?
Hey, what's happening, fellas?
What's going on?
Not much, man. Just I'm trying to get a little R&R on my day, my Ravi and Rogers.
I'm happy I could suffice.
Yeah, right. We got, I was sitting here wondering. I was listening to you guys talk about, the quarterback situation, and sitting here wondering. I wonder if there is anyone in the 2024 class that is mobile, doesn't turn the ball over, athletic, big, efficient with the ball. I wonder if there's anybody.
Maybe even local. Maybe even local.
Yeah. Local would probably be even better, wouldn't it?
You would think so. You'd like that, wouldn't you?
Let me guess. He's not committed to go anywhere yet.
He is not committed yet either. I think he's been to Indiana recently. Just wondering if that's
I think this is wishful thinking, David. I don't know if anybody fits that bill, right, Ravi? Oh, wait
a second. There's a guy over at about 90th and Pacific that looks a lot like what David's talking about.
David, you just had to rile him up this morning.
Sounds a lot like what you're describing to me, actually. So, but yeah, I wonder though too. I think a lot of us, at least a lot of us that are, I don't know, in this world, especially when it comes to recruiting and whatnot. We like Rizak a lot, but I don't know if you guys saw. I'm sure you did, but Suckup from Blair got that PWO yesterday. So I'm just wondering what that does in that situation. And they didn't offer him a scholarship, which is good, but typically they only like to take so many from a certain class, right? So I don't know. What do you guys feel about what that does for the situation?
Yeah, David, appreciate the call. I think it certainly does complicate it in terms of if you're trying to bring in another quarterback there. I don't think it prevents it necessarily. The preferred walk-on guys generally with coaching staffs don't get counted the same way as a scholarship guy does. Honestly, your bigger issue is probably Nebraska being okay with taking two scholarship quarterbacks.
So all of this is in terms of why they haven't offered Rizak or
any other,
giving him a big look.
Yeah, or frankly, any other quarterback, right? Georgia is, Georgia's taken two quarterbacks out of the top 10 this year, including Dylan Raiola.
Well, look what Texas has going for them. They have Murphy, they have Manning. Manning may enter the transfer portal next year with how much they like that Murphy
kid.
And
obviously you've got Ewers who won the job outright the last couple of years after spending a year at Ohio State making some coin. There's no reason not to take multiple quarterbacks in my mind, but some staffs don't like doing it. Some quarterback recruits don't like having other quarterbacks in the class, which to me would be a red flag. If I'm recruiting a quarterback and listen, as long as I promise that, hey, the best guy's going to play, I don't have any preconceived notions about you. You and this kid and whoever else is in our room already are all going to get a fair shot to play, assuming you don't have some stud coming back, right? Then if a kid backs away from competition like that, maybe I'm okay. Maybe I'm okay passing.
Competition is good, man.
It's always good.
It's good.
It's good for everybody. And especially with the transfer rule the way it is now, there's no reason to be afraid of it. Back in the day where it was going to cost you a year to transfer and whatever, I could kind of understand it because it could really derail your college career a little bit if, say, a new coach came in and he had his pet quarterback and didn't give you a fair shake, whatever, right?
You're in the wrong sport
If you don't like competition.
If you don't want to even be a part of losing
And
your job.
who's the last guy you heard of, right? I'll wait. Who's the last guy you heard of that got handed a job, didn't have to fight for it, didn't have to earn it, and that worked out well for anybody?
Let's not even just stick in the sport of football.
Anywhere.
Look in
anywhere.
Life.
Yes.
Broadcasting even.
Anywhere.
You can have all the resources in the world, right? Because more people have resources. Look, I worked my way up to where I am on the radio by going through school, by going to different states and just finding like my path that way. I didn't have a father that grew up. My father isn't Iron Eagle.
Yeah, you don't have
and that's not taking a shot at Noah Eagle. Jeez.
Noah Eagle. There we go.
I notice how I put the I in the Eagle. That's not taking a shot at Noah Eagle, but he went straight from college.
Yeah, he had
to calling NBA games on the radio.
Easier path.
But that doesn't take away the fact that he isn't awesome at what he does.
Really awesome,
right? You have to be good at what you
Yeah.
do. Some people just have more resources than others. It's the same thing in recruiting.
Yeah.
Right? Did your dad play? Did your dad not play? Did he play for this team? Does he know the coach? Like, can he get you in? Is that one thing?
Like,
or
are you from a high school that has a good relationship with the university? Are you from powerhouse? Like, if you're at IMG, you've got a better shot at getting recruited than you do just from a regular public school, right?
Competition is everywhere.
Yes.
And everybody's journey is different, but that's what makes you who you are. Think about the quarterbacks that they have in the room right now. Jeff Sims was once the top quarterback recruit, maybe not the top,
but he's
one
very
of
highly
the
touted.
tops,
Really
right?
highly touted.
One of the top
recruit.
quarterback recruits in the country, goes to Georgia Tech, plays right away, and just never really found his stride, right?
Then he never had anybody challenge him for the job either, because at Georgia Tech they couldn't get another guy of his caliber.
Then he goes to Nebraska and still just never amounted to maybe the hype that followed him. That doesn't mean that he's not a great teammate, because on the sidelines he looks like
a great
one
teammate.
of the best teammates out there for Harburg. But then you look at Harburg's story. Harburg came from a small school in Nebraska, right? He comes and, quarterback wasn't working out for him. He was willing to go play tight end this year.
Whatever he needed to do.
And then they're like, no, we should probably keep you in the quarterback room. But that's the mentality that was instilled in him, because he didn't have the same path or maybe like the same skill ability at the time that Jeff Sims had coming out of high school.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's just how life works. And if you work towards something, if you work toward a goal, more times than not, you'll achieve that goal. But you have to be willing to hit every rocky turn, every pothole in the road.
Absolutely.
To get there. Your car may break down. You better run to your destination now, right?
Yeah.
That's just how life works. You have to strive for something. You have to have that desire to want to get somewhere and know that nothing's going to stand in my way of getting to this spot.
And those are the guys that you see being successful over and over and over again. And that's the hardest thing to measure in talent evaluation, right? It's so hard to see, whether you're watching film, whether you're just talking to a kid, whether you're just getting to know him. It's so hard to see who has that and who doesn't, right? That's the biggest variable in all of talent evaluation. And if anybody tells you otherwise, they're lying to you, is who wants it the most. Because sometimes the 5-star guy does want it the most, and that's when you end up with an incredible athlete, a superstar, a Hall of Famer, right? Sometimes the most talented guy does want it the most, and then you have this whole other thing, right? You've got guys that turn into the all-pros or the all-stars or whatever the word is that you want to measure them by, right? These generational talents, right? When they want it the most, it takes them to a whole other level. Now, if you're talking about a guy, I mean, take it out of Nebraska. What did we see with the 49ers, with Brock Purdy?
That actually was on my mind when you were just talking about that point.
Yeah.
On how Brock Purdy was great in college.
Yeah.
Really good for Iowa State.
And totally forgotten about as a pro prospect.
Totally.
We talked about this a little bit yesterday with Avery, is just totally disregarded as a pro prospect.
But what did he do when he got into that system? He didn't let the 3rd overall pick in the NFL draft push him out.
Or the quarterback who'd already been to a Super Bowl with that franchise.
Right?
Right. Jimmy G wasn't highly touted, was highly paid, and had already been to a Super Bowl with the 49ers.
He put his head down. He went to work.
And when he got a shot, what did he do? Never
Didn't
let that job out of his hands again.
He never lost a regular season game.
Still hasn't. We'll see. I'm sure he will eventually, but today is not that day. We will be back. We are halfway through the show. We will be
already.
We're flying through this thing, and I think I have my list done. So we'll get to that in the 9 o'clock hour.
Let's do it
for our ideal 7-on-7 Olympic football team. We'll have all that and more coming up next here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Welcome back as we wrap up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. I'm Ravi, Lulla, Andrew Rogers here with me. And before we get to the next bit of nonsense we have scheduled for you here today, I want to tell you about our friends over at Rockbrook Camera. They are not just about selling you a camera. They're about helping you become a real photographer, whatever that means for your life, whether you're just recording memories like your sister's wedding, like my guy Andrew was at this weekend, or if you're trying to become a professional photographer to get paid for your work, Rockbrook Camera has you covered. All the latest technology like mirrorless cameras. You can trade in your old gear to help you upgrade to new stuff, or you can take advantage of their extensive rental program. You can check all this out at www.rockbrookcamera.com. Also, you can check them out 168th and West Center in Omaha, or 70th and Pioneer in Lincoln.
You know, speaking of video recording,
yes,
I tossed around the idea of attaching a GoPro to, like, you know how they do that at weddings, like on a fireball handle or you know, something else. And I tossed around that with my fiance to do that at ours, and she was kind of hesitant at first, but she like seems down for it at the same time. But also in this day and age where like people just get sick, right? And sickness is kind of like overshadowing our society.
Yeah.
Is that the move? Like, should I
Maybe
do
not.
that?
Maybe not on the bottle. You know, it would be kind of fun is to have it on the bartender.
Okay.
Just have him like, so you see all of his interactions with all your guests all
yeah,
night.
no, I'd rather put it on the bottle. That would be more fun.
Just be a little goofy there. Coming up here at 9 o'clock, we're going to talk to our friend Mike J. Schaefer of Husker 24/7. We're going to talk a little bit of the Wisconsin side of the Wisconsin-Iowa game to wrap up the show. But during the break, I was working feverishly to bring you this list of players that we think we're trying to build our ideal flag football team for the Olympics. We're not going to wait for them to announce it's actually in the Olympics. We can't take any risks. We've had enough national embarrassment with the basketball team. LeBron's coming back. Joel Embiid's playing for Team USA, which I guess is a thing.
I got to pull out my calculator app to get to $15.
So you've got 15. What's up, Shane?
Who's your coach?
Ooh, Kyle Shanahan. Come on.
Great. Him,
McDaniel would
Andy
be great.
Reid.
Andy Reid would be great.
Eberflus for sure. Unbelievable.
You can keep him.
And do you bring their entire staff over? I mean, do you bring like the entire Chiefs organization with you?
Ooh, maybe. I don't know. It's like
the entire organization. That's kind of cool.
I think
I like that.
With the
I don't hate that thought.
So with the
I don't
basketball
like it.
model, they kind of pick and
you're a
choose,
Raiders fan.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody from the Raiders is getting picked.
Josh McDaniels.
No, hard pass. Yeah, let's say you're bringing your entire staff.
I like
so when
that.
we pick a coaching staff, let's say you're picking your entire staff. So I didn't put coaches in here on my dollar system. We'll separate them.
They can just be free.
Yeah, they can
like
be free.
you just take them with you.
So here's where we're at with our.
And when you choose defense, are you choosing like you do in fantasy?
So we're doing offense only, right? Just like fantasy football. We're just
yes,
because
they also have to play defense, right? Don't your flag football players have
so
to
you're
play
playing
D2?
both ways, basically.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you probably have like one defensive specialist and then one offensive specialist, which is going to be your quarterback. And then you can have one defensive specialist to even them out.
I'm telling you, Kyler Murray could be a 6 safety.
Maybe better than he is a quarterback.
All right, let's go through this.
All right, so your $5 plays. Andrew has $15.
And I can choose like 5 $3 plays, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I could just choose the entire $3
You've got your
section.
salary cap. You
Okay.
can do whatever you want. Okay. Andrew has $15. He needs to choose 5 players, a quarterback, a running back, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end.
Let me write these down.
All right.
Carry the 2. All right, I'm ready.
Did I catch a niner in there? All right. You want your $5 players first?
Yeah, give me the
or you want to go by position?
Give me the quarterbacks.
All right, here's your quarterback.
All the way up and down the list.
$5 quarterback, Patrick Mahomes.
That makes sense.
$4, Joe Burrow. $3, we start to get to your elusive that you want. We've got Jalen Hurts.
I'm already writing them down.
$2, we've got my guy, the GOAT, Brock Purdy.
All right.
And at $1, we have your guy, the
Kyler Murray's a steal at $1.
the Kyler Murray.
In this, he's a steal at $1.
You going Kyler Murray?
I'm going
here?
with Kyler Murray.
All right, $1
because
spent.
look how much room I have to
Now you
grow
have
here.
$14 left. Hold on, make sure you do the math on that.
Oh,
one.
I did 15 minus 1 equals 14.
All right, here
Last
you
time
want
I
running
checked.
backs or wide receivers?
Let's go RBs.
All right, your $5 running back, Christian McCaffrey. Pretty good. $4 running back, Austin Eckler.
Okay.
$3 running back, Travis Etienne. $2 running back, Breece Hall.
Okay.
And I pulled a change up on you here. $1 running back, Saquon Barkley.
Whoa.
So it's a value play there. I don't know how good of a fit he is at flag football because he's very physical, right?
Physical, yes.
So
but
he is
great
elusive.
receiver.
He's quick.
Okay,
really good receiver out of the backfield.
Let me skip because I really want to put McCaffrey here.
But you want to.
But I want to make sure that
I got
I got to budget out.
Okay.
So let's go to wide receivers.
Okay, wide receivers. We've got $5 wide receivers
I
are
think I could steal one $5 wide receiver too.
Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
And Jamar Chase.
Okay.
$4 wide receivers are Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson.
Wow.
$3 wide receivers. We've got the Browns, not brothers, A.J. Brown and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like his brother's name better, Equiminius.
A.J. Brown is going to be on my team.
Okay, A.J. Brown, $3. We are down to $11.
Okay.
Your $2 wide receivers, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs.
Wow.
Dude, the receiver depth is insane.
Holy moly.
The receiver depth is so good. $1 receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua.
Jeez, if Lamb's a $1 wide receiver. All right, I'm making McCaffrey my running back.
Okay, so you're spending your $5.
Yeah. So now I'm down I got $6.
$6 left.
This is easy. I got it.
I'm
already done.
We going Puka?
Nope, I'm going CD.
Going CD, $1. All right.
Got it.
Now we got your tight
I got
end.
my team. No, I'm good. It's Travis Kelce.
Tight end, right? You got enough money for Travis Kelce? All right. So let's read. Who's your team?
So Kyler Murray at $1.
Okay.
McCaffrey at $5.
Okay.
A.J. Brown at $3.
Okay.
CeeDee Lamb at $1. Travis Kelce at $5.
Okay. And I think you still have $1 left over, don't you?
Do I?
Or no, you had your CeeDee Lamb. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
There's your $1.
No, that's it. That's a great team.
I'll take that. All right. So let me do this on the fly here. Let me see if I can.
I'll type in 15 for you.
So I'm going to start with my guy, Brock Purdy.
-2.
-$2.
Okay.
All right.
I'm going to write this down.
Great distributor of a football. I think he'd be terrific in flag football.
All right, here we're posting these, so
Let's
I'm gonna have the socials. Those on the socials
see 'em.
rate our team.
Let's have
Shane,
'em rate our
I'm having
teams.
you make one too.
We should also let's also put on the socials what the options were.
Oh yeah,
So other
sure.
people can chime in as well. If you've got your team you want to put together, you can give us a call at 888-638-4876 on the Warhorse Sportsbook hotline. Okay, so that's my ride or die Brocktober
Yep, got
at
it.
$2. I think I'm gonna take Nacua with $1. Though he is always open. Those kind of slot receiver guys that are
Puka.
super shifty, really good at getting open. That dude is always open. I want him on my team. So I've got $3 spent so far. Man, let's see who I want here for I think I am going to go Christian McCaffrey.
Wow. Okay, so here we go. MC.
Selfish.
It is selfish.
Okay,
I
so
like
you
my
got
$49.
-1. You have $7 to play with for one more wide receiver and one tight end.
Oh no, I said Puka. Oh no, I got
Yeah,
one more.
Puka.
One more.
You
One
got
more.
one
One more. So I've got $7.
Mhm.
All right, let's see who we got here. So my options, I could go. I kind of want to go Tyreek Hill to take the top off of the
Okay.
D.
If you did, then you have a $2 tight end.
Who's Kyle Pitts?
Ugh. You want Pitts?
Who's my $1 tight end? Did I do a $1 tight end? Hold on, I need another tight end. Who's my $1 tight end? Where'd he go? My one. Give me. Is Laporta a $1 tight end?
We can make him a $1 tight end.
Hold on, let me look at my options real quick on $1 tight ends. I forgot to put a $1 tight end.
Do you have to use
all?
all your money?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. I can always upgrade somewhere else. I don't think I want Pitts. Although I do think he'd be good at flag football. I'm not sure.
I don't think he's as good as people thought he was.
I think he's.
I don't know. A little bit is the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah,
I want to give.
That's tough.
I want to check that off the list, but I still don't think he's as good as people thought he was going to be.
That's entirely possible. Oh no, I forgot. I had Mark Andrews. I want to go Mark Andrews.
Is that 2 or 1?
He's $1, so I got $1
Mark
left.
Andrews is below Kyle Pitts.
I meant to do Kyle Pitts, or I meant to do Kyle Pitts at 1 and Mark Andrews at 2, and I screwed it up. So we can call Mark Andrews my $2 tight end. We're gonna fix this here. Andrews is 2.
Yeah.
Pitts is 1.
This makes a lot more sense.
There we go. I got it. Listen,
Okay.
I was doing this on the
Decent
fly.
team.
I had like 3 minutes. Give me a break.
Decent team. All right. Shane's up. Let's get Shane in there.
Shane, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, we're going to break here. So.
We're going.
No, naturally. Here he goes.
He's gonna
I bet in 1 minute you could come up with a team.
He's going to take the whole break and come up with somebody.
All right, quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo,
I don't
running
want
back
Jimmy.
Josh Jacobs,
No, I want
wide
Devontae
receiver,
Adams,
Hunter Renfro, and Devontae Adams,
Jacoby Myers,
and tight end. He still
They're
loves this guy, even though he left.
Darren Waller.
There'll probably be a few Lions I'd probably take in there.
Oh, you could do Jerry.
Amon Ra. Okay, let's go on.
Yep.
All right, here we're gonna do Amon Ra, St. Brown. Amazing Daniel on YouTube. He missed the setup, so he's so confused at what we're doing right now.
So Amazing Daniel, there's a rumor that the Olympic Committee is considering flag football for the Olympics, and so we're putting together in one of those social media style, you have $15 to make a team deals. We're putting together just a little fantasy flag football team. Ken says McCaffrey, Hill, and Purdy. The rest doesn't matter.
Well, Shane, what do you think quarterback wise? Like people under 48 inches? Because Kyler Murray would fit perfect in that category.
He would be pretty solid at that. We have 7 total guys on the team, correct? Like
five
total guys on the team. It's all right.
Because
Shane,
one guy has to snap, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so we've got 5 total guys that we're picking. On an actual team, it would be 7.
7.
Right.
Yeah. We'll figure it out later. You'll be all right, Shane.
We're just kidding. The only person I'm putting in on social media for Shane is St. Brown because he's alive.
That's the only one.
That's the only guy.
Coming up next, we got Mike Schaefer from Husker 24/7. Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio. We are here with you on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, and joining now on the 9 o'clock hour, KFOR in Lincoln. I'm Ravi Lulla. Andrew Rogers here with me today. We are having all sorts of terrific discussions about things that probably don't matter. It's
the best type of radio.
It is like a flag football Olympic team that may or may not ever happen because they haven't decided if it's going to be the Olympics or not yet. But what is or should happen is you should head on down to Warhorse Sportsbook.
Oh, that's where I'm at once a week.
In Lincoln.
Once a week.
They are the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets. You can go down in person. They've got plenty of kiosks, plenty of sports book tellers to take your wagers. You can.
What would an over/under on flag football look like? Like on a typical game?
Probably an arena line. It would probably be a lot like an arena football line.
Probably.
So high.
I think you could I whatever props and bets you want to put out there, Warhorse Sportsbook has you covered as well. You can get their app. You got live lines and things like that. You can build your wagers, then go to the casino, scan the QR code.
And who am I kidding? I'm
make
Warhorse 3 times a week.
Make the actual bet from there. Go to warhorsecasino.com/sportsbook for more information. We are waiting on our friend Mike J. Schaefer from Husker 24/7.
Mike J.
Schaefer, put out the bat signal for Schaefer. Come on now.
Caw.
I don't know.
Is that it?
Is that the Schaefer signal? I don't know if that's. Does he respond to bird calls?
Oh, look, there he is. No, I'm just kidding.
If that worked, that's incredible. You and Schaefer have a connection I didn't even know about. Just the bird calls to each other.
Gosh, when I talked with Schaefer, this was a couple of months ago. He was doing interviews of media members in town, like just across the board. And he asked if I would hop on the podcast with him. And we had some good conversation there, which we can have more of because
he's back.
Answered the call.
He answered the bird call. We appreciate Mike J. Schaefer for joining us as always. Schaefer, what's going on, man?
Oh, not much. How we doing?
Schaefer, what's going on, my guy?
It's been a minute, Andrew.
How are you feeling about the Justin Fields revolution?
This always happens, like for 6 games. You'll get 6 good weeks out of Justin Fields, and that's about it. But let's also not skip past that. The Bears beat 2 bad teams.
Very bad.
Like,
yeah.
Washington is not a good team.
No.
And the team before that was, well, he didn't beat
lost,
Denver.
didn't
No,
but
should have.
yeah, they should have beat Denver, but he played well in that game.
He did play.
The
He's
good
played well 2
news
weeks
is
in a row.
their high school offense can go up against Minnesota's defense here this week, and
Can't wait.
they have a chance of winning that game. So I was the most excited person the Bears won last week because it means that their first win wouldn't be against Minnesota this week. So in essence, everybody was happy, you know,
Do we still have the 1 and 2 pick locked up right now temporarily?
essentially.
Yeah, I think so. With the Carolina pick. Yeah, is there, I think I asked this question last week, or I was thinking about it. Is there a franchise you would trust less with the first 2 picks in a draft than the Bears in any sport?
The St. Louis Rams.
Is there a choice? Is there any franchise?
Can we get in a time machine and take like the 1990s Clippers or
Yes,
something?
That would be
You know?
bad. Yeah, 90s Clippers would not be well equipped. Today, the answer might be the Bears. It's up there.
That's tough.
Not to make you more depressed about your football team or anything.
Yeah, can't wait till April.
Well, knowing the 49ers, they'd pick somebody with the first or second pick. It'd be a total bust, and then they'd get somebody in the 7th round.
Here's how this will go. They'll have the first overall pick, but Caleb Williams won't want to go there.
Yeah, so
because he already openly stated that he'll
go
only
back to
play for
college.
5 teams.
He'll go back to college. Go play for Lincoln again another year.
Correct. So the Bears will keep Fields, and then they'll trade the number 1 pick. And they're going to want to get Marvin Harrison, right? That's going to be what the Bears want. And then whoever gets the number 1 pick is going to draft Marvin Harrison from underneath them. And then the Bears are going to have to settle with somebody they didn't really want, or they'll trade out of that pick too. And I'll get so hyped for the first 2 picks of the draft,
and you'll get
and
neither of them.
end up with picks for days,
for years
to follow.
For years.
Who's the consensus third quarterback behind Drake May and Caleb Williams?
I don't know that there is a consensus third. I mean, you've got
I keep hearing how great this quarterback draft is, and it's like, isn't it just Caleb Williams and Drake May if you're into Drake May? Like, I don't know.
Right. Is Riley Leonard up there?
He's up there. There's a cluster of guys, I think, from I think anywhere from Riley Leonard. Some people like Michael Penix as a first-round quarterback. I think some people are talking about J.J. McCarthy that way. I don't know if you're talking about.
When does Bo Nix enter the league? It seems like he's been in
Bo
college
Nix.
for
Bo Nix is
25
part of
years.
the group they're talking about.
None of these sound like quarterbacks that I would be enthusiastic about my team taking.
Well,
since my team is going to take a quarterback, but probably not bad enough to get one of the top.
Well, are you
2.
going to lose Justin Jefferson too? Is he going to follow Kirk Cousins wherever he goes?
I don't know.
They're best friends. You got to watch out.
Hey, I don't need the Bears taking another UNC quarterback though. Like, sorry, Drake May, I can't do that.
You can't do the Trubisky thing again.
No.
Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of agree with you though, Schaefer. There's just really a cluster of quarterbacks after Drake May and Caleb Williams. I don't know that. I mean, I guess Shadur could come out. I don't know how people feel about him.
I would take him over every other name mentioned besides Caleb Williams, probably.
You take him over Drake May too?
Yeah, maybe. That one's like closer to a toss-up. But I would definitely take him over J.J. McCarthy. Are you kidding? Like, that's
I don't know.
I'm not insinuating that either of you like J.J. McCarthy, but he's like one of those names you see in a first-round mock, and you're just like, I don't think so. I don't want anything to do with it.
I think Quinn Ewers is in this draft. I think some people are high. Obviously, there's a talent level there. I don't know how people. I think some people are talking about him as a first-round pick though as well. So yeah, I think it's a.
I think we're trying to make ourselves believe that this is a good quarterback first-round draft.
Yeah,
the quarterback play in the NFL is bad.
I think there's 2 guys that people feel pretty good about. I think there's one guy that people feel really good about. I think there's another guy people feel pretty good about, and then there's a group of guys. And that second group, which is probably mostly second and third round guys, if we're being realistic in any other position, they're all going to get talked. People are going to talk themselves into taking half of those guys in the first round. But I don't know I don't know that you look at this group after the top 2 and say, hey, this is I think it's maybe a deep quarterback class. I don't know how good of a quarterback class it is, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right. Well, that's exciting. I can look forward to Christian Ponder 2.0.
Listen, I remember sitting there.
Oh goodness,
so I was
pick.
So Schaefer, I was covering the draft for covering is a loose term for Bleacher Report at the time. And I'm watching this thing happen. And keep in mind, I watch a lot of Florida State football, and it shocked me that somebody was like, yeah, Christian Ponder, first round. That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, and I don't know that it makes it come across any better. Who they really wanted was Jake Locker. So,
yeah, that's worse, probably. I mean,
yeah.
Well, because there was the run on quarterbacks in that class, and it was Jake Locker as Christian Ponder. I'm trying to remember.
Blaine Gabbert, Cam Newton, and then
Blaine
the
Gabbert.
5th one taken was Colin Kaepernick in the 2nd round.
Yeah, so Gabbert slid right to
7th, I think.
7. Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember how far he slid, but yeah, so that was another one of those. Hey, we've got a great quarterback class, and where exactly did that get anyone? So it's always, I feel like we do this a lot with quarterbacks. Like, oh, it's a great class or it's a terrible class. Well, guess what? None of us know anything about quarterback play in terms of what it's actually going to look like.
We tend to guess wrong.
Yeah, I mean, everybody does. I mean, look, Anthony Rizak still doesn't have an offer, but
here we go again.
Got to get it in where I can fit it in, right?
Schaefer, if you want to write that down, that's the 2nd time on the bingo card. So just write that down.
To be fair, somebody else, Dan brought it up the first time. So.
Yeah, but you also, stirred that pot. Like it may have been the chicken broth to the soup, but you brought every other ingredient.
That might be fair. Schaefer, let's start with Nebraska and Illinois. Looking back last week, it's been there's been kind of a wide range, at least from the people I've talked to, of opinions about that game. Some people, I don't want to say they're angry about it, but they're kind of frustrated about how it looked. And then I'm kind of in the camp of, hey, you can't complain about road wins in conference. Those all count as much as anything. So I guess, where did you land as you kind of process that game and you talk to people? Was it more kind of frustrated about how ugly it was, or just kind of happy to get a road win in conference?
I think at least in the conversations I've had, I think it's been a lot of both. I mean, I think people would have liked Nebraska to just take control of the game the opponent's just giving you, and put somebody away. I think a lot of it was that, right? Like, that result was still pretty much in doubt until the end of the game. And Nebraska was in control of that game pretty much from the 4th down stop on. And yet it never felt like they got to just put an opponent away. And one of the hallmarks of kind of the Scott Frost era was that they didn't put opponents away. I mean, and so I think this fan base would like nothing more than to just see Nebraska show up, play clean, put a team away when you have that opportunity. But that's not who they are. I mean, I think that gets into the second part of this. Most of the fans that I am at least engaging with are more than happy to tell you that this is a deeply flawed team. Mm-hmm. So with that being the case, you can't really be that upset about getting a win on the road against a team that, you think you're better than. And I think Nebraska, I thought coming into the game, the wrong team was favored. I just think Illinois is about as bad as you're going to find in the Big Ten West this year, which is, a lot of these teams. So I like Nebraska's chances going into that game. I thought that they had ample opportunity to put it away and just weren't able to. So I think some of the annoyances from that. Mm-hmm. I think Matt Rhule is still paying the price for saying things like, we hope to become a good 4th quarter football team, to which people just took to mean we're already a good 4th quarter football team and Rhule makes no mistakes ever again. And then here's where it is for me. There was times on the field Friday where Nebraska had its backup quarterback, its 4th string running back, wide receivers 6, 7, and 8. Mm-hmm. Thomas Fedoni and Nate Borkircher, whichever one is tight end 1 or tight end 2 for you, and their offensive line. And it's like, you have to at least acknowledge this hasn't gone remotely to plan on offense. Like, so
you're 3-3.
Yeah, it's hard to sit here and be too upset about things when you're back to 500 and you don't have a single one of your starting skill position players on the field on a critical down against Illinois on the road. Like, so it clearly hasn't gone how they had hoped. So they've had to adjust this thing as the season has continued to roll on. And to me, that should be a feather in the cap of the coaches for being able to adapt to what has been a horrific start to the year. But around here, because excuses have been more plentiful than wins, I think people are sort of tired of that. They just want to see wins. And even now, when you get a win, it doesn't even really feel like it counts because nobody gets to feel good after that win.
Right.
It's just a cycle of mediocrity, and the backlash to it, I think, is sort of some of the anger that you got out of people on Friday night.
So I guess what we move toward now during the bye week is figuring out what needs to be cleaned up, what needs to be tightened up. What is number one on that list for you, Schaefer?
Yeah, and I understand what Matt Rhule said after the game. I understand that he's mad and he talked to the conference and that this is happening. If they can't curtail the false starts and the procedural penalties, well, like, what the hell? There's no excuse for any of this. Like, I can accept what he's saying. I can acknowledge that would be difficult, and yet I can watch other teams around the league not jump off sides 5 times in a game, or excuse me, have a false start 5 times in a game. Get lined up, like, so it's the fact that we're in game 7 of this season and we are still seeing a Nebraska team struggle to line up and get a snap off without a pre-snap penalty or just having guys lined up correctly. Like, that's a little bit frustrating. And to me, there's no element of excuse for it. Like, that's something you can control. You can't control that you have to play your number 7 wide receiver, your number 4 running back, or whatever it is, number 5 running back in some cases. You can't necessarily control that. You can control your ability to line up and play football as you're instructed to do. And I just think too many of their mistakes on offense are sometimes self-inflicted, that if you clean some of that up, this team is hardly capable of getting you 325 yards on a normal night. Don't make them try to get you an additional 5 yards every third play. Like, that's not a recipe for success. So to me, that's something they can absolutely control and should be getting better at. And it doesn't feel like they are at this point.
Schaefer, so if it's the head coach during this bye week, you're focusing way more on cleaning things up versus maybe trying to get Heinrich Haarberg more comfortable. I mean, maybe you can do both. I guess my question is, how much do you think can reasonably be accomplished in the bye week, whether it's even just trying to clean those things up, which I assume they've been working on since fall camp? I guess just what's a reasonable expectation of change and adjustment in a single week?
I don't tend to look at the bye week as an opportunity to really revolutionize what you're doing. And maybe that's the wrong way to look at it. But to me, and especially in college, the bye week is an opportunity to sort of like reset where you're at mentally, give yourself a little bit of a break and get prepared for the final 6 weeks of the season. Physically, give yourself somewhat of a break. But I mean, I tend to believe that 6 weeks into the season, you sort of are the version that you're going to be, at least from a schematic standpoint. I don't know that there's anything that's going to occur in a 2-week stretch that's going to allow Heinrich Haarberg to come out and start playing the position in a way that is just going to get everybody on board with it. Like, I think there's going to be an element of his game that sort of feels like it's somehow both at its best and worst when he has to freestyle a play. And there's times where Friday was tough because I think the conditions played into it. But there was times on Friday where he had to work through progressions and he made the right read, and so it's not, we're seeing competent quarterback play from him at times. But it's also hard because there's no margin for error. There's no one else that he can really rely on. So I guess I don't know what I would expect to change in those 2 weeks. And we'll see if this isn't an opportunity for them to try to roll Jeff Sims back into the picture. I mean, depending on where that ankle is at, his mobility. Because to me, if he's not able to move with his feet, you got to keep playing Heinrich Haarberg. Like, I just think that's the biggest thing. I don't care if his arm might be slightly better. It doesn't. This offense lives and dies on the quarterback run game, and it will for the next 6 weeks. So you're going to need both of those guys at some point.
Schaefer, I'm reading a comment that just came in, and Shane, can you pull up that last comment from Dion? He said, "I think Frost's leftovers are not very intelligent," and like, I don't want to like strike it that much in regards to incompetency, but maybe we twist the question this way: can the ugliness also be attributed that it isn't fully like Matt Rhule's team that he created from scratch? Or, once he does get all the bodies that he recruited in the room, do you think all that stuff will kind of figure itself out? Or is that something you just have to work through in college football?
I think it's something that you just end up working through. I mean, some of it stems from like if you look at the people that are in the positions that they're in, like those names I all rattled off. That was the 5th college football game for Heinrich Harburg. That was the first real snaps for Emmett Johnson in a meaningful situation. Same for Jaden Dawson, Malachi Coleman, Alex Bullocks. It's like his 6th, so there's a lot of inexperience there. And yet some of where these mistakes are coming from are from some of your offensive linemen that have been, in plenty of college games, have been around the block. So some of it is inexperience. Some of it is lackadaisical. I think it all kind of works together. I think that they are at a bit of a talent deficit on offense. And so to me, that's what makes those penalties even more frustrating. Like you have less of a margin that you can just give away yards in other teams. So you have to be better in the margins, if you will. Nebraska needs to win the penalties battle more often than not because they don't have the offense that can just get those yards back easily. Like they have more to gain by playing clean football than a team with a more competent offense. So all that to say, like there's a lot that works into this. I don't know that it's just a competency thing. But a lot of it to me is just a combination of inexperience, talent, maybe some lackadaisicalness on the fundamentals of what you're supposed to do. And a lot of it is they're a transition program. They're playing like a transition program. This isn't what I expect Nebraska football to look like in 2024 or 2025. But it's what it looks like when you're just trying to get to 6 wins on a schedule where it's right there in front of you. And you're doing everything you can just to have more points than the other team. And I can accept that being ugly. And I can accept that not being what the program's going to look like, but they still have to get better in the things that they could do.
Schaefer, wanted to ask you about what the recruiting looks like during this bye week. I assume that's where a lot of the emphasis will be in terms of what they're trying to accomplish along with what they're trying to get done with their own team. What does the recruiting schedule look like for some of these guys? And I guess, are you expecting any kind of visits or anything like that on the horizon?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing, and I'll be 100% honest, it's not like I have the schedule of what they're going to do in front of me. So this is some slightly educated hypothesis as to what might happen this week.
Sure.
But the single thing that I'm going to be most focused on is, are we going to see them pop up with new targets, or is a lot of this week getting out, seeing some of your commits, making sure those guys still feel good about things, getting down to Miami, where Ja'Cory Barney has a visit to Arizona in November. And, he's been going to the University of Miami off and on for visits. I mean, is it as simple as just getting down there and making sure a kid that's going to be an early enrollee is locked in with you because you need Ja'Cory Barney in January in order to help your offense move forward? Is it getting down to Lancaster and visiting Kawan Lacey, where, oh, by the way, Lane Kiffin on his bye week just happened to stop by the school on Monday? So some of it to me is making sure that you're re-recruiting Carter Nelson. Are we going to see him on the sidelines at USC, Notre Dame? There seems to be some belief that that's a possibility. So some of this week to me is making sure your house is in order, more so than maybe trying to find some new players on the horizon. Now, you can do 2 things at once. You can get to these spots when we're talking about going to Miami and Dallas. Guess what? There's a lot of other schools that you can hit there too. And you can see some 25s and 26s and of that nature. I'm not expecting a lot of new 24s to appear, but as soon as I say things like that, Matt Rhule is the kind of guy under a rock in Texas that nobody's seen that 24/7 sports analysts fall in love with. So, I mean, I should know better than to say those types of things, but I am anticipating this to be more of a clean up what your house kind of looks like and then transition a little bit to 25s and 26s.
Iron sharpens iron.
Schaefer, I'm curious, with the 2024 class sitting where it's at 26 commits, how big are you expecting this class to get? Is it kind of just, hey, they'll find whatever guys they like and figure out the numbers later? I guess, what are you expecting this final class to look like?
Yeah, with the way that this is set up, I think a lot of it is just take what you want and then figure out the numbers as you need to. And so, they took some developmental chances in the last class. I wouldn't be surprised if some of those guys move on pretty quickly if it is apparent that they're not going to be able to play wide receiver or defensive back or something based on, just athletic guesses of them. So I would look for this to be a class in the 30s. I think there's still a few more high school guys they want. And then, of course, they're going to have to get involved in the transfer portal too. And we're just kind of in that age where, that 25 number just means nothing anymore. So they'll take what they want and they'll try to shoehorn it into the roster as they need to. You can extend out scholarships with NIL easier than ever now. And we've seen them do that already.
That's Mike J. Schaefer from Husker 24/7 Sports. Schaefer, we appreciate it as always. We'll catch you again next week.
Thanks, Schaefer.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Try and stay busy out there, Schaefer. I know it's
try and stay busy. That guy,
that time of year.
I don't think he has to try.
Well,
He just stays.
He does stay busy. He's a grinder, as they call him, getting all that recruiting buzz for you. We appreciate Schaefer as always. All right, coming up next here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, we've got half hour left on the show. I'm sure we'll get into something. That's Andrew Rogers. I'm Ravi Lulla. Or more coming up next. Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio. I'm Ravi Lulla. That's Andrew Rogers.
Yo!
Got a half hour left here with you on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, and KFOR in Lincoln. Looking at, kind of trying to figure out, because I've got the degenerate gambler next to me. We're kind of looking at, he brings out the worst in me. And
how did how did Mario Cristobal not get fired?
I get that it's egregious.
How did he not get fired?
Because who else is Miami going to hire?
How did he not get fired?
I mean, you're not firing a guy mid-season over that. It's a terrible call. Cost you the game.
If I cussed on air right now,
yeah,
which is about not taking a knee when you don't have another team doesn't have a timeout, like I would absolutely get suspended or
probably suspended. I don't think you get fired on the spot.
It depends on what I say.
And who you say it about?
You can say anything once.
Well, sometimes.
But so we're kind of looking at the slate of games. And so I've been doing this pick'em league with a couple of my buddies. And basically, a league is aggressive. There's 3 of us. We literally are just picking 5 college games, 5 NFL games, and then the winner at the end of the season gets a bottle of booze purchased by the other 2, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of been what I've been focusing on most of my attention, because it's, it's the pride as much as anything, right? But I'm kind of looking at this slate of games, trying to figure out, and I did okay last week. I went, I think, 4-1 in the NFL, which I was happy with.
Not bad.
And then I think I went 3-2 in college, which is okay.
Well, anytime you're in the winning,
listen, above 500,
column,
which my first week was brutal, just awful. So I've been digging out of a hole ever since then. But I'm looking at some of these games and trying to figure out, okay, what lines do I like this week? But there's not a ton of stuff I love.
No, I'm going to struggle placing college football this week,
which is a shock for you, because you rarely struggle to find bets to make.
Okay. No,
am I wrong?
No.
Spot the line.
Yeah.
Mr. First Inning Unders over here.
Hey, now it's first inning overs.
Anytime home run.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All the time. I had 4 touchdowns last night in that Monday Night Football game.
Oh.
Why did I think 4 touchdowns would ever be scored in that game? I don't know. So I'm struggling right now in the NFL. Well, so you mentioned how you do college football picks.
Mm-hmm.
I do that in the NFL with a group of people.
Yeah.
And I've gotten second place now 3 times.
Oof.
How many weeks of football have we seen, Ravi?
5.
And I got second place twice. Guess how much money second place gets every time?
$0.
$0.00. And it all comes down to Monday Night Football's or the Monday Night Football game.
And you lose.
And either I have the same pick as the guy in first, but he has them either with more points already attached or with more points potential because it goes. We rank them from 16 to 1.
Sure, you're most confident,
right? So
like
if
a bowl pick 'em.
So I made the Packers 11 last night.
Okay,
he had the Packers at 4.
Okay,
but he had 5 more points than me.
Okay,
well, if the Packers would have won, I would have won.
Yes.
Do they have?
So he needed the Raiders to win. Naturally, the Raiders won.
Of course.
Do they have gambling in Missouri?
No.
So do you have to drive to like Southern
Illinois if
I
I want to bet on DraftKings?
Okay.
Or Hamburg, Iowa.
Or Hamburg, Iowa.
Or you just do what we do and go over to the Warhorse Casino.
Yep, and I do that when I'm back.
Those are when you're in town.
Yeah, but I can't drive from St. Louis
No,
to Warhorse.
it's a little bit of a trip.
Just to be a degenerate and then drive home.
I wouldn't put it past you. I want to be honest.
Thanks, Ravi. Appreciate you. But yeah, no, I'm getting tired of finishing in second place there. Fantasy football's looking okay. That's
So
like a
do you
long-term
guys do like
investment.
a weekly prize?
Yeah, so everybody puts $10 in each week.
Okay, so the winner gets the
Right. So if
That's cool.
9 people play, right, you end up winning 70 because, well, you end up winning 80 technically because
you put in the 10. So.
Well, and also he keeps the 10 for the next week.
Sure.
So
Gotcha.
he'll send you 8, whatever.
Gotcha. Okay, a little pick'em league. I
but-
like it.
So I started getting into the Sleeper app.
Okay.
Have you ever heard about that for fantasy,
so that's
fantasy
my
football purposes?
my work fantasy football league is through Sleeper. It's the first time
Right.
I've used it.
So they also have like a betting icon.
Like yeah.
And I'm not too familiar with the site, but a buddy of mine uses it here because it's legal to use in Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only like certain player props.
Yeah, it's like almost daily fantasy type
Right.
stuff. Right.
And that's how they get away with it too, because you could also use DraftKings daily fantasy in Nebraska. But so he turns me on to this, and you can do any game. Like you could do anything from the NFL all the way down to college, and not high school or anything like that. If you could, that'd be crazy. Anthony Rezak over a half a touchdown. That would be what Ravi bets every time.
Whatever the line is for West Side, I'm taking the
you're
points.
taking the points. So sorry, I'm reading this now. Never mind.
Don't worry about it.
I placed a bet on Sleeper on Friday, and I broke my cardinal rule: never bet on your team. Never bet on the team you talk about.
Oh yeah,
because in St. Louis, like I was never on the radio religiously. I did a Stanley Cup show when the Blues were there, but I never bet on the Blues in the Stanley Cup because I didn't want to be even more mad on the radio if I talked about a loss.
Yeah.
Or kind of get lost in the excitement of a sports bet win. I wanted to take it from, a neutral perspective. So I broke my cardinal rule, and I found out on Sleeper I could do some prop bets on Nebraska.
Okay.
So let's just go to Andrew's Twitter page here.
Yeah.
I ended up.
What did we find out here today? What did we find out on the prop bets?
I'm gonna break this down for you. Everybody watched the Nebraska game, right? Right.
I would assume so.
The bets that I had were Tristan Alvano, because he's my dude.
Yeah.
Over a field goal made.
Okay. Got it.
Thomas Fedoni.
Yep.
Over 23.5 yards.
Got it.
Luke Altmaier.
Yep.
Over 183.5 yards passing.
Got it. I believe.
Got it.
Yeah.
Is it Casey Washington? I can't remember. Washington, the wide receiver
for Nebraska.
For
Illinois.
Illinois.
Yeah.
It's C Washington.
Yeah.
Regardless, over 1.5 receptions.
Got it.
Got that.
Yeah.
The last one was Anthony Grant.
Oh no.
And I'm smiling.
Oh no.
Because it was over 56.5 rushing yards.
Oh no.
So it goes green for me because he ran for 57 yards.
Yep.
Okay. So now you either get insurance, right?
Yeah.
Like if you keep running the ball, or like 3 minutes left in the game, they could have given, Emmett Johnson a little bit more time. By the way, happy birthday. So Grant gets the ball again on the next carry, 1st and 10 in the red zone, runs for 2 yards, stripped,
fumbles,
ball goes backwards 3 yards, recovered, technically a 1 yard loss
for Anthony Grant.
So it goes from green to
red.
Just like that.
56 yards total.
15 to win 167. How about that?
Well,
that right there.
That's a tough break.
You know what's funny is, like, I didn't let it bother me because it was just so laughable.
Yeah.
Like I saw it coming. I saw it coming from a mile away. I knew I was going to sweat that thing,
You've had a
especially when he
couple-
went out with injury.
You've had a couple of doozies like that in the past.
Oh, tons of doozies. Yeah. So, I just laugh about it. So I was watching them win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? That's all I care about.
Yeah.
That's all I care about is the win. And normally when I bet against people, like if I bet for another team, normally they end up losing.
Sure.
So in Nebraska's case, I'm just going to start betting on every team they're playing.
There you go.
And you know what? We're undefeated the rest of the year. We're going 9-3.
9-3, baby. Let's go
right now.
Right to Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship.
We don't have
game.
anybody hard to play left, right?
Maryland. I mean, Maryland, I think, is the best team on the schedule.
That was such a brutal beat because, people were texting me like, no, that's not how the rule works. Like, didn't they recover it at the line of scrimmage? Like, all that stuff, which I thought they did.
Yeah.
I thought they recovered it at the line of scrimmage, but apparently not. Apparently the ball was spotted at a 1-yard loss, and he went from 57 to 56, and I lost.
Spotting the ball is the worst thing in football.
It is.
You could be so off on that.
Well, they were so off last night on Monday night.
Dude, the spot, listen, this is a whole other
How many
thing.
reviews did we see about a 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 turning into a first down because they actually crossed the line to gain?
The amount of just crapshoot on every single play of spotting the ball that we never talk about because it's just some random 2nd and 6
and
play
it
or
doesn't
whatever.
become a matter until the end of the
until
first half or the end of the second half.
Or if it's a 4th down versus a first down.
So what happens on the first set of plays? I mean, you're just going to let it go by?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably over the course of a game dozens of yards that just are evaporated one way or another that we never account for because they just don't spot the ball right. Especially it's a total crapshoot. There has to be a better way to do this. Sensors in the football.
You know what we need? We need the Toy Story claw.
I'm
right. Did anybody watch the Toy Story broadcast?
I did not.
Oh, you didn't?
I did not. Well,
I saw some of it.
Neither did I.
Sure. We'll talk about that over the break. We'll wrap up the show on Hurrdat Sports Radio next.
We will be back.
Welcome back. Hurrdat Sports Radio, wrapping up the show here on a Tuesday. Andrew's jamming out. I don't know what's happening.
I like
over here.
these new beats. Shane did some work, got some new music in there, eh?
Shane's been busy. He's been in the lab.
Been on the ones
I'm talking in my Canadian accent now because it's NHL opening
hockey
day.
season. Yeah, there you go. Officially, that's Andrew Rogers. I'm Ravi Lulla. Wrapping up your show here on a Tuesday. So I kind of this is random from what we've been talking about today.
What isn't?
Well, that's fair. The other topic was even more random, so we'll maybe save that for Thursday. But it is, to say the least, not sports related. But
the other topic,
yes, this one is sports related, and I bring it up because I sort of follow a lot of Boston media because I'm a Red Sox fan, and so obviously during
you are
a little bit. People forget. But during obviously football season, they all cover the Patriots. And there's kind of this sort of growing sentiment that Bill Belichick might be in trouble in terms of keeping his job with the Patriots. It has not been great the last handful of years. You go 7-9, 10-7, 8-9. Currently 1-4 since.
Did somebody big leave?
Yeah, so they had this quarterback. I don't know if it was kind of a late round draft pick, so probably wasn't that good. But he left after about 20 years of playing quarterback, and it has not been
Tom
awesome.
Brady?
So close. Tom Brady. You almost had it.
Tom Grady.
Tom Grady. I think that's a real person. Grady Little? No, that's a different.
Oh no, wrong guy.
No,
wrong guy.
That's getting nightmares about Grady Little. So there's kind of the sentiment, and I didn't really believe it at first. I was like, come on, you're not firing Bill Belichick, right? That's stupid.
Until I'm waiting for the however.
Until there is apparently, and I don't know if you remember this at the time, there was a big sort of feud between Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick.
Yeah, because he liked Velveeta more.
Yes, no,
Sorry about that.
because Kraft wanted to take care of Tom Brady, pay him whatever he wanted, and keep him in New England for the rest of his career. And Bill Belichick has a famous track record of saying, hey, I'm not overpaying anybody. When I think they're done, ship them out of town. And Bill Belichick won that battle probably on the track record of, hey, look how many times I've done this, and I've been right every single time, right? One that pops up really fast to me is like Logan Mankins. People are like, what are they getting rid of Logan Mankins for? Boom, he was done as soon as they got rid of him. They were fine on the offensive line. That's happened a million times over Bill Belichick's career. Randy Moss was also another really good example of that. As soon as they cut him loose, he was back to being what he was before he got there, in like his Raiders days. No offense, Shane.
This sounds like a die by the sword type of moment here.
Yeah, so it's apparently their relationship has not been great since that moment because Robert Kraft loved Brady, but he sided with Bill Belichick. And Bill was wrong, right? Like he missed. Like he just missed on this. Either he was wrong about Brady, which is probably true because he wouldn't win a Super Bowl that very next year with Tampa, right? And then was good until he retired. Or certainly better than the quarterback play in New England's been. But I think there's a legitimate chance that Robert Kraft might pull the plug on this thing.
That would shock the heck out
I don't
of
know
me.
about mid-season, but
at the end of the
would
season,
you be shocked if this is Bill Belichick's last year in New England?
I think I would.
Really?
I think I still would just because
this isn't a very good football team.
Like he built New England.
He did.
So that's why it would shock me if they ever were to fire him. If he were to come out and say, hey, I'm looking for new opportunity because of like forced resignation or whatever.
Or if he's just like, hey, I don't want to deal with a rebuild.
Right. Like if he just said, hey, I want to go do something different, I'd be like, oh, okay. I can't wait to see where he ends up. But if I saw the word fired and Belichick on the same headline, that would completely shock me.
It would
because of all he's done
Sure.
for that franchise.
But it would probably be right. It'd probably be worded as mutually agreed to part ways. But he got fired, right?
Maybe
Like,
that's the only. Maybe that's the only way he will leave from there.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe it's just if he's going, he's going to get fired.
I'd be surprised if it happened mid-season. I kind of am leaning towards I think this is his last year with the Patriots.
Well, you just never can get a good read on the guy.
Right,
Or
'cause he doesn't
any
give you
situation.
anything.
Well, there's just little resistance there.
Yeah.
So if he were to leave New England and stay in football, I think that's a more interesting conversation.
Sure. So let's say he does.
Than if it was just a mutually decided to part ways. Bill Belichick's out of football. He's retiring, whatever.
Yeah, so to me, he's a lifer, right? So if I think that he gets let go or decides to leave from New England after this season, I mean, that doesn't strike me as a man with a lot of hobbies, right? So he's kind of like we were talking about with Kirk Ferentz.
What do you think his hobby is, like outside of football?
I think he golfs, maybe. I think I've heard
He seems
that.
like a fisherman.
Oh, maybe. He seems like he's got some fisherman vibes.
Does he invest? I think I'd have to.
I'm
going to
say he's so conservative that
Yeah.
he doesn't do anything with his money.
I
Like
mean-
the only place his money goes is a savings account in the bank.
Maybe like a mutual fund or something like real
Right.
real
Like a
low
Roth
risk.
IRA.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, I've just been putting in my New England Patriots 401k all these years.
Also, I don't know if he needs to worry about it.
Yeah, I think he's probably okay. But no, so let's say that he is done at New England in this year. Where does he go? Because I do think he's a lifer.
I have the perfect landing spot for him.
Okay, let's hear it.
The perfect landing spot would be in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Not with the Rams,
Okay.
but with the Chargers.
The Chargers.
If you first off, I don't like
Make your pitch.
Staley is not it.
No.
He's not.
So if
Haven't liked him. I thought he should have been fired a couple of weeks ago. Still hasn't because he's
Yes.
gotten lucky and they were on a bye.
Yeah.
But aside from that, Bill Belichick would excel coaching up Justin Herbert.
Mhm.
You have a good running back in Austin Eckler, who kind of represents a lot of what the running backs were like in New England when TB was up there too. Like somebody that is just a good, strong, top option at running back. I mean, they made it work with LeGarrette Blount for a while. Not
Yep.
to say that that's Eckler. Eckler's much better and
Yeah.
younger, but still.
and has a lot of the same skill set of like the pass catching running backs that he was doing
And
for a long time.
defensively, he's got some dudes. He's got some
Yeah.
dudes on that team.
That's a defense that should be way better than they are.
And if Bill Belichick goes there, think about the free agents he could also sign when he gets there.
Sure.
Because New England is in a spot that I'm itching to go to. Right.
No.
Not just because like the team is bad, but like to live there. I don't know if I want to live in Boston, Massachusetts. Like
Especially
that's just not for me.
You work there outside in the winter.
Right.
Like not awesome necessarily.
But if you could live in Los Angeles where the weather is pretty nice
80
and
degrees
it's
all year.
I mean, let's just call it how it is. Like you're rich. You're going to go into a rich community and just be with a bunch of other people that dress, act, and, do everything similar to you or have a job that pays as much as you. That's your environment.
So let me give you another alternative here. Are you ready for this one? Bill Belichick, head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. I would worry, and this is a weird worry, but like they've tried so hard to get old coaches to be like the coach.
I know you got like Parcells, you've got
and so that worries me to where like Bill Belichick may look at that situation and just say, but he would be a perfect fit after McCarthy.
I think
he would be a perfect fit,
right? A lot of things in place to be competitive right away.
Great defense,
really great defense, which he would probably make even better. You've got
that just gives me like the heebie-jeebies.
The
like seeing him, like it reminds me of seeing the Kevin James memes of Sean Payton, right? Like that's what I think about with Bill Belichick in Dallas.
I'm just saying that I think that would low key be a really good fit. I think it would work.
I mean, you could see it. You could absolutely see it, and I could.
And he's an upgrade over McCarthy,
and
right?
Look, Robert Kraft, Jerry Jones, like they're pretty much
basically the two
side by side,
two most powerful owners.
It sure would make that Dallas 49ers game more,
that'd be interesting, right? Because that was, it was interesting for me on Sunday night. I know for the rest of the country, it probably wasn't as enjoyable, but he's obviously an upgrade over McCarthy. I think he's still an upgrade at this point in his career, right? We don't think he's lost his fastball.
No, I don't think so.
So, I think he's an upgrade over McCarthy. He's an obvious upgrade over Staley, right? But those are kind of teams where I look at where kind of perpetually underachieving, but have the talent in place because he's not going somewhere to rebuild, right?
He's not going to Chicago.
No, God, no. I don't know why anyone would.
Las Vegas.
I wouldn't go there either.
I don't think there's enough in place there unless he's obsessed with Jimmy
or the money.
Yeah,
the area,
just a paycheck, right?
Yeah,
it's a little warmer. It's nice there too.
Dallas and LA are both pretty warm. It's obviously warmer than New England, but
he also wears sleeveless hoodies, so I don't think he cares too much about the cold.
Listen, he's living his best life out there, just sleeveless hoodies all day. Those are kind of the places I look and say, hey, that would be an obvious upgrade in coaching and a place where he could win right away. I don't know. I kind of think Dallas.
It's interesting to talk about the
it?
Patriots without Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I don't even know what that looks like. Like, who do they go get? I think I
heard
probably
go sign Josh McDaniels again, right, Shane?
Oh gosh,
that would be awesome.
I'd be thrilled. Get him out of here.
Why are you doing that? Hold on, Andrew. Why are you doing that? Come on, man.
Hey, congratulations to Joel, by the way.
Yeah,
he just got a sick job upgrade. Not to say that working at the Omaha World Herald wasn't great for him, and we're going to really miss him on the beat at Creighton.
But what he wants to do,
has forever wanted to work in the NBA.
Want to be an NBA writer,
and he's getting that chance with Oklahoma City.
Yeah, he's going to the Oklahoman. Going to cover daily beat writer for Oklahoma City Thunder. So we appreciate all the time that we got to spend with Joel around here.
We'll try to talk to him whenever the OKC Thunder get back into the playoffs, huh?
Listen, might be this year. They got Chet, they got Shea. Who knows?
They weren't supposed to make it last year.
I kind of like that roster a little bit, but congrats to Joel. Honestly, really appreciate all his time and hope he enjoys his new beat. Andrew Rogers, that's the show. We're done.
Already?
We'll see you sometime this week, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
All right. That's Hurrdat Sports Radio. Have a good one.
We back.